Throughout history, entire civilizations have risen, thrived, and then disappeared, leaving behind only scattered ruins and unanswered questions. Beneath dense jungles, buried under shifting sands or hidden beneath the waves, there are lost cities that defy explanation. Who built them? How did they flourish in places we once thought uninhabitable? And perhaps the biggest mystery of all, what caused their downfall? These aren't myths or legends. These are real civilizations that once shaped the world, only to vanish without a trace. But as archaeologists uncover new clues, the stories of these forgotten empires are finally being brought back to light. So settle in, because tonight we're diving into the greatest lost civilizations in history and the secrets they left behind. For thousands of years, the story of the Cucuteni-Trypillian civilization remained hidden beneath the fields of Eastern Europe. Their cities crumbled into the earth, their traditions long forgotten. Yet they once thrived, building vast settlements that rivaled the earliest cities of Mesopotamia. Their culture was unique, their rituals mysterious. But who were they, and why did they vanish? The first clues about this lost civilization surfaced in the 19th century when archaeologists digging in modern-day Romania, Moldova, and Ukraine unearthed strange artifacts, intricately painted pottery, clay figurines, and the remains of vast settlements. These discoveries pointed to a sophisticated society that flourished between 5500 BCE and 2750 BCE. This culture became known as Cucuteni in Romania and Trypillian in Ukraine, after the sites where the first evidence was found. The Cucuteni-Trypillians lived during the Neolithic period, at a time when agriculture was transforming human society. They settled in the fertile lands between the Carpathian Mountains and the Dista River, an area rich in natural resources. These people were skilled farmers, growing wheat, barley, and peas. They domesticated animals like cattle, sheep, and pigs, which provided meat, milk, and wool. The forests surrounding their settlements offered timber for construction and clay for their remarkable pottery. One of their most astonishing achievements was their settlements. Unlike other Neolithic cultures that lived in small villages, the Cucuteni-Trypillians built massive communities, some stretching over 400 hectares, almost 1,000 acres. These were among the largest settlements in the world at the time, predating even the cities of Mesopotamia. Some of their villages housed as many as 15,000 people, a population unheard of in prehistoric Europe. Their settlements followed a distinctive pattern. Houses were arranged in concentric circles, with a large central plaza in the middle. Some believe this layout had spiritual significance, while others think it was a practical way to organize daily life. The houses were made of wood and clay, often decorated with painted walls and intricate designs. Inside, they had multiple rooms, ovens for baking bread, and storage areas for food. These homes reveal that the Cucuteni-Trypillians had a comfortable and well-organized way of life. Yet for all their advancements, they left behind no written records. Like the Olmecs of Mesoamerica, the Cucuteni-Trypillians remain a mystery because their language, if they had one, has not been discovered. Instead, archaeologists have pieced together their story through their art and artifacts. Their pottery, in particular, is considered some of the finest in prehistoric Europe. It was painted in bold patterns, spirals, triangles, and other geometric shapes, using colors like red, black, and white. This pottery was not just functional, but also an expression of their culture and beliefs. Another intriguing aspect of their society was their religious practices. They created thousands of clay figurines, mostly depicting women. Some scholars believe these figurines represent a mother goddess, a deity of fertility and nature. This has led to theories that the Cucuteni-Trypillians were a matriarchal society, where women may have held positions of power. However, this is still debated among historians. Their spiritual beliefs also extended to their burial practices, or rather the lack of them. Unlike other ancient cultures that built large cemeteries or burial mounds, the Cucuteni-Trypillians left behind few graves. Some bodies have been found buried under house floors, but mass graves or elaborate tombs are rare. This has puzzled archaeologists for years. Did they practice cremation? Were they buried in ways that have yet to be discovered? The answers remain uncertain. One of the greatest mysteries surrounding the Cucuteni-Trypillians is their unusual practice of burning their own settlements. Evidence suggests that every 60 to 80 years they deliberately set fire to their homes, reducing entire villages to ashes. Why? Some theories suggest that it was a form of ritual purification, a symbolic way of starting anew. Others believe that it was simply a method of abandoning old, worn-out houses before moving to new locations. But no one knows for certain why such a highly organized culture would destroy what they had built. Trade played a key role in their society. They exchanged goods with neighboring cultures, spreading their influence across Eastern Europe. Archaeologists have found Cucuteni-Trypillian pottery and tools in distant regions, suggesting that they had an extensive trade network. They traded flint, salt, and obsidian, valuable materials that were essential for making tools and weapons. But despite their success, the Cucuteni-Trypillians eventually disappeared around 2750 BCE. What caused their decline? As with many ancient civilizations, the answer is uncertain. One theory suggests that climate change led to food shortages, forcing them to abandon their settlements. Others believe that Indo-European tribes from the east, possibly early nomadic horsemen, invaded their lands, leading to conflict and displacement. Some even think that their habit of burning their own villages eventually weakened their society beyond repair. Unlike the great civilizations of Egypt or Mesopotamia, the Cucuteni-Trypillians did not leave behind grand monuments or written records. Their legacy was buried beneath the soil, waiting to be rediscovered. But their influence did not vanish completely. The artistic styles of their pottery and their settlement patterns can be seen in later European cultures, suggesting that their traditions lived on in the societies that followed. How do we know all this? Archaeologists have reconstructed their history through careful excavations and scientific analysis. Radiocarbon dating has allowed researchers to determine the age of their settlements, while microscopic studies of charred remains provide insights into their diet. Soil analysis has revealed how they cultivated their crops, and the study of their pottery has helped trace their trade routes. Thanks to these discoveries, the Cucuteni-Trypillians are no longer just a forgotten people. They are recognized as one of the most advanced Neolithic cultures in Europe, pioneers of early civilization. Yet many questions remain unanswered. Why did they burn their own settlements? What happened to them after they disappeared? Did they integrate into other societies, or were they completely wiped out? Perhaps, as new technologies emerge and more sites are uncovered, we will one day unlock the full story of the Cucuteni-Trypillian civilization. Until then, they remain a lost people, an ancient mystery hidden beneath the fields of Eastern Europe, waiting to be fully understood. While the Cucuteni-Trypillians built vast settlements in Eastern Europe, crafting intricate pottery and mysteriously burning their cities in cycles, on the other side of the world, another civilization was rising, one that would leave behind towering stone temples and an empire that defied the jungle itself. Deep in the heart of Southeast Asia, an empire once stood that rivaled the greatest civilizations of its time. The Khmer Empire, stretching across what is now Cambodia, Thailand, Laos, and Vietnam, was a beacon of power, culture, and architectural brilliance. Its cities, built on the foundations of vast reservoirs and canals, pulsed with life, while its temples, including the iconic Angkor Wat, stood as testaments to its wealth and devotion. But today, the mighty empire is gone. The jungle has swallowed its cities, its people have scattered, and its fall remains one of history's greatest mysteries. For centuries, the Khmer Empire thrived. At its peak between the 9th and 15th centuries, it controlled vast territories, dominating trade and shaping the cultural landscape of the region. But its origins are shrouded in legend. The Khmer people believed their empire was founded by a powerful warrior named Javarman II, who declared himself a god-king and established divine rule over his people. He built the first great capital and began the tradition of constructing massive temples dedicated to the gods. But these were no ordinary temples. They weren't just places of worship, they were designed as representations of the universe itself, with towering structures symbolizing Mount Meru, the mythical home of the gods. Religion played a central role in Khmer society. At first, the empire was devoted to Hinduism, worshipping deities like Vishnu and Shiva. Grand temples were built in their honor, decorated with intricate carvings of celestial beings, battles, and mythical creatures. Priests and scholars studied ancient Sanskrit texts, while kings justified their rule through divine connections. But over time, a shift occurred. Buddhism, with its teachings of enlightenment and compassion, began to spread through the empire. Some kings embraced it fully, transforming temples and religious practices to reflect the new faith. Angkor Wat itself, originally built as a Hindu temple, was eventually repurposed into a Buddhist sanctuary. The empire did not resist change, it adapted to it, incorporating new ideas and beliefs while maintaining its grip on power. Beneath the grandeur, a vast and complex society functioned with remarkable efficiency. At the top stood the king, believed to be a living god. Below him, nobles and officials oversaw provinces and cities, ensuring that trade and administration ran smoothly. Warriors defended the empire's borders, maintaining control over distant lands and keeping rivals at bay. Farmers, the backbone of Khmer society, worked the fields and maintained the intricate network of canals and reservoirs that made large-scale agriculture possible. Without them, the empire could not survive. Their efforts supported the temples, the artisans, the traders, and the nobility. But despite their importance, they had little power. They were bound to the land, living under the rule of the elite. The Khmer were master builders, their architectural feats unmatched in the region. Angkor, the empire's capital, was the largest city in the world at its height, home to possibly 1 million people. Roads stretched for miles, connecting distant provinces. Bridges and causeways crossed rivers, uniting vast territories under a single rule. But their greatest achievement was water management. The Khmer engineered massive reservoirs, called barays, to store water for the dry season, ensuring that crops could be grown year-round. Canals diverted rivers, providing irrigation and transportation. This mastery of water allowed them to sustain a massive population in an otherwise unpredictable tropical environment. And yet, despite their brilliance, the empire collapsed. Over the centuries, it faced threats from all sides. Wars with rival kingdoms, including the powerful Thai Ayutthaya kingdom, weakened its borders. Repeated invasions drained its resources, forcing the Khmer to abandon cities and retreat deeper into the jungle. But external threats alone could not destroy such a mighty civilization. Something else was at play. The land itself may have turned against them. For centuries, the Khmer had carefully controlled their water supply, but the climate was changing. Droughts struck the region, drying up reservoirs and making farming impossible. Without water, crops failed. Without food, people starved. And when the rains returned, they came with devastating force, overwhelming canals and destroying infrastructure. The very system that had sustained the empire for centuries had become its greatest weakness. Some historians believe that as the climate shifted, the Khmer simply could not adapt quickly enough, and their civilization crumbled under the weight of nature's fury. But was it only nature that brought the Khmer Empire to its knees? Some historians believe internal struggles played a role. The empire's rulers had long relied on divine authority to justify their power. But as Buddhism spread, the idea of a king as a god became less accepted. Religious shifts may have weakened loyalty to the throne, causing divisions among the elite. If the people no longer believed their rulers were divine, they may have been less willing to fight for them. Rebellions may have erupted, local rulers breaking away from the empire to establish their own kingdoms. Perhaps the empire did not fall all at once, but slowly fractured from within, collapsing piece by piece. And then there are the more mysterious theories. Some have suggested that a great plague swept through the empire, killing off its population and forcing survivors to flee. Others speculate that some unknown disaster, something lost to time, caused the great cities to be abandoned. Whatever the truth, the end came quietly. The jungle crept in, reclaiming the land. Roads disappeared beneath vines, temples were swallowed by trees, and the once mighty cities of the Khmer were left to crumble. By the time European explorers arrived centuries later, the empire was only a memory. The people who lived in Cambodia had little knowledge of their ancestors' former glory. To them, Angkor was a ruin, a relic of a forgotten past. The jungle had hidden its wonders for generations, and when the first Western explorers stumbled upon its towering temples, they could hardly believe what they had found. Angkor Wat, once the heart of a mighty civilization, stood silent, its walls covered in moss and mystery. Even today, the Khmer Empire remains an enigma. How did a civilization so powerful simply fade away? Was it the work of war, climate, or something else entirely. The ruins of Angkor still hold secrets, their intricate carvings whispering stories of a lost world. Archaeologists continue to uncover new evidence, piecing together the past, but the full truth may never be known. Perhaps the greatest mystery of all is not why the empire fell, but how it rose to such heights in the first place. How did the Khmer achieve such architectural brilliance, such engineering mastery, and such cultural influence? And if they could do it once, could their descendants rise again? The ruins of the Khmer Empire stand as a reminder of what once was, a civilization that ruled over vast lands, built wonders that still stand, and then, for reasons unknown, vanished into history. The temples remain, the jungle watches, and the mystery endures. As the Khmer Empire's grandeur began to fade, across the Red Sea, another civilization had already risen to greatness. It was a powerful trading kingdom, connected to Africa, Arabia, and beyond, leaving behind towering obelisks, a unique written script, and a legacy that shaped the region for centuries. In the highlands of what is now Ethiopia and Eritrea, an ancient civilization once thrived, shaping the course of trade, religion, and culture in the Horn of Africa. The Aksumite Empire, often considered one of the great forgotten civilizations of antiquity, was a powerful kingdom that dominated the region for centuries. It flourished from around the 1st century CE to the early Middle Ages, reaching its peak between the 4th and 7th centuries. Renowned for its towering stone obelisks, sophisticated trade networks, and early adoption of Christianity, Aksum was a center of wealth, innovation, and influence. Yet, despite its prominence, the empire eventually faded into obscurity, leaving behind ruins and mysteries that continue to intrigue historians today. The Aksumite Empire was situated in a geographically advantageous location. The Ethiopian highlands provided a natural fortress with its rugged mountains and fertile valleys, making it an ideal setting for agriculture and settlement. The region was also strategically positioned along key trade routes that connected the Mediterranean, the Indian Ocean, and the African interior. This allowed Aksum to become a hub of commerce, dealing in goods such as gold, ivory, frankincense, myrrh, and exotic animals. Merchants from Rome, Persia, India, and even China sought trade with Aksum, making it one of the most prosperous civilizations of its time. The empire's capital, Aksum, was a bustling city filled with grand palaces, markets, temples, and towering monuments that showcased its wealth and power. Aksumite society was highly organized, with a clear social hierarchy that determined one's role and status. At the top of the structure was the king, known as the Negus, who was not only a political leader but also held a semi-divine status. The king was considered the guardian of the gods' favor, responsible for maintaining cosmic order and prosperity. Beneath him were the nobility, consisting of powerful landowners, military leaders, and high-ranking officials who administered the empire's vast territories. Priests and religious figures also held significant influence, particularly after Aksum adopted Christianity in the 4th century. Below them were merchants, artisans, and farmers, who played essential roles in maintaining the economy and daily life. Slavery existed within Aksumite society, as it did in many ancient civilizations, with enslaved people often being prisoners of war or individuals captured from neighboring regions. A defining characteristic of Aksumite culture was its remarkable achievements in architecture and engineering. The most iconic symbols of Aksumite civilization are its towering stelae, or obelisks, massive stone monuments that served as markers for tombs and burial sites. Some of these obelisks reached heights of over 30 meters and were intricately carved with false doors and windows, mimicking the design of actual buildings. These structures were crafted from single pieces of stone and transported to their locations, demonstrating the technical expertise and labor force at Aksum's disposal. Many of these monuments still stand today, with the most famous being the obelisk of Aksum, which was looted by Italian forces during World War II, but later returned to Ethiopia in 2005. Religion played a crucial role in Aksumite society, evolving significantly over time. Initially, the people of Aksum practiced a polytheistic religion that involved the worship of various deities associated with the sky, earth, and fertility. The empire's early rulers often depicted themselves alongside these gods on inscriptions and coins, reinforcing their divine right to rule. However, in the 4th century, King Ezana made a groundbreaking decision that would alter the course of Aksumite history. He converted to Christianity. Under his rule, Christianity became the state religion, making Aksum one of the earliest kingdoms in the world to officially adopt the faith. Ezana's conversion was heavily influenced by ties with the Byzantine Empire and the efforts of Christian missionaries, particularly a Syrian monk named Frumentius, who was later appointed as the first bishop of Aksum. This transformation led to the construction of churches and the spread of Christian doctrines, shaping Ethiopian religious traditions for centuries to come. The rise of Christianity in Aksum also led to the decline of older religious practices, and the empire established itself as a key Christian power in Africa. This religious identity would endure long after Aksum's political decline, influencing Ethiopian culture and the development of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. The presence of Christianity also fostered stronger diplomatic and trade ties with Christian states, such as Byzantium, while simultaneously creating tensions with neighboring pagan and Islamic societies. The decline of the Aksumite Empire remains one of history's great enigmas. Several factors contributed to its gradual fall, though no single event can be pinpointed as the sole cause. One of the major challenges Aksum faced was the shifting trade routes. As the Islamic caliphates expanded in the 7th century, the Red Sea and Arabian Peninsula came under their control, significantly disrupting Aksum's once thriving maritime trade. With access to key ports diminished, the empire's economy suffered greatly, making it increasingly difficult to sustain its power. Environmental changes also played a crucial role in Aksum's downfall. Evidence suggests that deforestation, soil degradation, and prolonged droughts may have weakened agricultural production, leading to food shortages and population decline. As farming became less viable, many people likely migrated to more fertile regions, further weakening the empire's core territories. Additionally, increased competition and conflicts with neighboring groups, including the Beja, Nubians, and early Muslim communities, placed further strain on the empire's military and resources. In an attempt to survive, the Aksumite elite gradually retreated from their traditional capital and moved deeper into the Ethiopian highlands. The once glorious city of Aksum faded, its grand monuments left to crumble, and by the 10th century, the empire had effectively ceased to exist as a major power. However, its legacy endured. Many of the cultural and religious traditions established during Aksum's peak continued through medieval Ethiopian kingdoms, shaping the region's identity well into the modern era. One of the lasting mysteries of Aksum is its connection to the legend of the Ark of the Covenant. Ethiopian tradition holds that the Ark, the sacred chest said to contain the 10 Commandments, was brought to Aksum by Menelik I, the supposed son of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. According to this legend, the Ark is still housed in the Church of St. Mary of Zion in Aksum, guarded by a single monk who is forbidden from leaving its presence. While there is no concrete evidence to support this claim, the legend continues to be a source of fascination and religious devotion, adding another layer of mystique to the Aksumite civilization. Today, the ruins of Aksum stand as a testament to a civilization that once held great influence over trade, politics, and religion in Africa and beyond. Archaeological excavations continue to uncover new insights into its history, revealing evidence of its extensive trade networks, advanced engineering, and complex social structures. While much of its story remains shrouded in mystery, Aksum's impact on Ethiopian heritage and world history is undeniable. The Aksumite Empire may have vanished, but its spirit lives on. In the towering stelae that pierce the sky, in the whispered legends of lost treasures, and in the faith of millions who still follow the traditions it helped to shape, Aksum remains an enduring symbol of a civilization ahead of its time. It serves as a reminder that even the mightiest empires can fade, but their legacies can last forever, echoing through the ages in the lands they once ruled. While the Aksumite Empire thrived on trade and influence across the Mediterranean, another city met a far more dramatic fate. Once a prosperous Greek city, it was swallowed by the sea in a single catastrophic night, its disappearance becoming one of the most haunting legends of the ancient world. There was once a powerful and thriving city on the northern coast of the Peloponnesian Peninsula, a place that flourished long before the rise of Athens and Sparta. This was Helike, an ancient Greek city that commanded both respect and fear in the classical world. For centuries, it was a center of culture, trade, and religious devotion dedicated to the mighty god Poseidon. But one fateful night in 373 BC, Helike vanished, swallowed by the earth and sea in a catastrophe so sudden and complete that its memory became legend. For over 2 millennia, it was thought to be nothing more than a myth, until modern archaeology began to unearth its secrets. To understand Helike, you must first picture the landscape of ancient Greece. The city was situated in Achaia, a region known for its rugged mountains, fertile plains, and its proximity to the Corinthian Gulf. This location made it a strategic hub for trade and travel. The waters of the Gulf teemed with merchants carrying goods between the Greek city-states, while the land routes linked Helike to the rest of the Peloponnesian Peninsula. Unlike the isolated polis of the mountainous interior, Helike enjoyed both coastal and inland influence, which helped it become one of the most powerful cities of its time. Helike was a leading city in the Achaean League, a confederation of Greek city-states that controlled much of northern and central Greece before the rise of Macedon and Rome. The city was known for its wealth, advanced architecture, and formidable naval power. While Athens and Sparta fought for dominance, Helike remained a powerful entity in its own right, with control over surrounding settlements and an influence that extended across the Greek world. Even colonies as far away as Asia Minor and Italy paid homage to Helike, seeing it as a cultural and religious beacon. At the heart of the city was its devotion to Poseidon, god of the sea, earthquakes, and storms. Helike was home to one of the most renowned temples of Poseidon in all of Greece, attracting pilgrims and worshippers from across the Mediterranean. The god was not only revered but feared, as the Greeks believed he had the power to shake the very foundations of the earth and summon the raging seas. The people of Helike saw themselves as favored by Poseidon, their city protected by his might. They minted coins bearing his trident, and their navy was considered among the best in the region, ensuring their dominance in trade and warfare. Helike's social structure mirrored that of many Greek city-states. At the top was the aristocracy, composed of wealthy landowners and military leaders who controlled politics and religious affairs. Below them were merchants, craftsmen, and sailors, whose economic contributions fueled the city's prosperity. At the lowest level were laborers and slaves, many of whom worked in the docks or in agriculture. Unlike the rigid military state of Sparta, Helike was a vibrant mercantile power, with its strength lying in its wealth and alliances rather than sheer military discipline. The city's streets were lined with grand structures, from public squares to markets filled with goods from distant lands. Theaters echoed with performances of Greek dramas, and philosophers debated ideas that would later be recorded as part of the classical tradition. Helike was a place of learning and culture, a center of trade and religious devotion. Yet for all its greatness, the city was unprepared for what would come. In the winter of 373 BC, strange omens began to appear. Animals, particularly snakes and rats, were seen fleeing the city in great numbers. Some of the more superstitious citizens took this as a sign of impending doom, while others dismissed it as nothing more than a curiosity. Then one night, disaster struck. A massive earthquake rocked the city, shaking buildings to their foundations. The people of Helike had little time to react before the ground beneath them began to liquefy, a process now known as soil liquefaction, which causes solid ground to behave like a liquid. The earthquake ruptured the land, toppling structures and creating deep fissures in the earth. As panic spread, the second calamity arrived. A massive wave surged in from the Corinthian Gulf, a tsunami that swept over the ruined city, dragging its remains into the depths. By dawn, Helike was gone. Survivors from nearby towns recounted how the entire city had disappeared beneath the sea, leaving only the tops of buildings visible beneath the water. Ships that had been docked in the harbor were found miles inland, tossed like toys by the force of the wave. The once great temple of Poseidon, the pride of Helike, was lost beneath the waves. In an eerie twist, the god to whom the city had devoted itself had seemingly turned against it, bringing about its destruction. For centuries, the story of Helike lived on as a warning. Writers like Strabo and Pausanias spoke of a sunken city beneath the waters, a place where fishermen would sometimes snag their nets on ancient ruins. Some believed it to be a real event, while others dismissed it as legend, another lost city like Atlantis. But unlike Atlantis, Helike was real, and modern archaeologists set out to find it. In the late 20th century, researchers began searching for the remains of Helike. It was not until the early 2000s that excavations revealed the truth. The city had not sunk into the sea, but rather into an inland lagoon, which had eventually dried up and been covered by silt. Beneath layers of sediment, archaeologists uncovered streets, pottery, and evidence of the grand structures that had once defined Helike. The ruins confirmed what the ancients had recorded, a city wiped out in an instant by a force it had long worshipped. But the mystery remains: why did the people of Helike not flee in time? Some believe they were simply caught off guard, the earthquake striking too suddenly for evacuation. Others think that their strong religious beliefs played a role, that they trusted Poseidon to protect them and ignored the warning signs. It is also possible that they had no precedent for such a disaster. While Greece is prone to earthquakes, a tsunami of that magnitude may have been beyond their comprehension. Helike's fate serves as both a historical lesson and a chilling reminder of nature's power. It was a city at the height of its prosperity, with wealth, culture, and influence, and yet in a single night, it was erased. The disaster that struck Helike was not unique. Other cities, from Pompeii to the lost Minoan Civilization of Thera, have suffered similar fates, but Helike's story carries a particularly ironic weight. A city devoted to the god of the sea and earthquakes was undone by those very forces, leaving only ruins and legends behind. Today, the site of Helike continues to be excavated, with new discoveries shedding light on what life was like in this once great city. Pottery, tools, and human remains provide glimpses into the daily lives of its people, while geological studies reveal the full scale of the disaster that consumed it. As researchers continue their work, Helike is slowly emerging from the past, offering a window into a civilization that was lost but never forgotten. The question lingers: if Helike had not been destroyed, would it have become one of the dominant powers of Greece? Could it have rivaled Athens or Sparta, leaving an even greater mark on history? These are questions without answers, lost along with the city itself. But what remains clear is that Helike was once a jewel of the ancient world, a city of gods, sailors, and scholars, until the earth and sea reclaimed it, leaving behind only whispers of its former glory. The sudden disappearance of Helike became a cautionary tale of nature's power, but it was far from the only great civilization to fade into history. Not far from its sunken ruins, the Mycenaeans once ruled over a vast and formidable kingdom, an empire of warriors, kings, and legendary heroes. Yet, despite their strength, they too would fall, leaving behind only whispers of their once great dominion. Long before the grandeur of classical Greece, there was a civilization that thrived in the rugged hills of the Peloponnesus, a people whose influence would shape the myths and legends of the ancient world. These were the Mycenaeans, a powerful and warlike culture that dominated the Aegean from roughly 1600 to 1100 BC. Unlike their Minoan predecessors, whose society was centered on trade and maritime connections, the Mycenaeans were warriors, kings, and builders of imposing citadels. Their civilization was one of great wealth, military strength, and intricate social organization, yet like so many others before them, they vanished, leaving behind ruins, myths, and mysteries that continue to fascinate scholars to this day. The Mycenaeans inhabited the Greek mainland, with their civilization centered on a series of fortified palace states. The most famous of these was Mycenae itself, a city whose massive stone walls and legendary rulers, such as Agamemnon, would later be immortalized in Homer's epics. Other major centers included Tiryns, Pylos, Thebes, and Athens, each ruled by a wanax or king. The Mycenaeans took advantage of their geographical position to control key trade routes, interacting with the Minoans of Crete, the Hittites of Anatolia, and even the distant Egyptians. They were a seafaring people, but unlike the Minoans, who prioritized commerce, the Mycenaeans used their navy for conquest and expansion. At the heart of Mycenaean society was a rigid social hierarchy, with the wanax at the top. Below the king was a network of officials, scribes, and military commanders who ensured the smooth operation of the palace economy. The logates, or military leader, played a crucial role in organizing campaigns and defending the kingdom. The elite class, including warriors, priests and high-ranking officials, lived in luxury, enjoying goods imported from across the Mediterranean. Below them were artisans, farmers and laborers, who produced everything from weapons and armor to pottery and textiles. At the bottom of the social ladder were the slaves, who worked in the fields, mines and palaces, supporting the needs of the ruling elite. The Mycenaeans were deeply religious, worshipping a pantheon of gods that would later be adopted and expanded upon by the classical Greeks. Evidence from Linear B tablets, an early script used for administrative purposes, suggests that they worshipped deities such as Zeus, Poseidon, Hera, and Athena. However, their religious practices were distinct from those of later Greek civilization. Rituals often took place in open-air sanctuaries, caves, and peak shrines, where sacrifices were made to appease the gods. Some evidence suggests the existence of priestesses, indicating that women may have played an important role in religious ceremonies. Unlike the Minoans, whose art depicted peaceful religious rites, Mycenaean religious practices appear to have been more solemn, possibly reflecting their more militaristic culture. The Mycenaean writing system was a crucial aspect of their administrative and economic structure. They developed Linear B, an early form of written Greek that was primarily used for record-keeping. Unlike the undeciphered Linear A of the Minoans, Linear B was successfully translated in the 1950s by Michael Ventris and John Chadwick, revealing extensive details about Mycenaean bureaucracy, trade, and religious offerings. Most Linear B inscriptions have been found on clay tablets in palace archives, suggesting that the script was used mainly by scribes to document transactions, inventories, and tribute payments, rather than for literary or historical records. This bureaucratic writing system provides valuable insight into Mycenaean governance, resource distribution, and religious practices. Much of what we know about the Mycenaeans comes from archaeological discoveries. The first major breakthrough occurred in the 19th century, when German archaeologist Heinrich Schliemann excavated Mycenae and discovered its royal tombs, famously unearthing the so-called Mask of Agamemnon. His findings confirmed that Mycenae was a powerful and wealthy center during the Bronze Age, rather than merely a legendary city from Homeric epics. Later excavations at Pylos, Tiryns, and Thebes revealed palace complexes, fortifications, and archives of Linear B tablets. These discoveries demonstrated that the Mycenaeans were an organized society with extensive trade networks, military power, and a structured economy. Additional evidence from Egyptian and Hittite records also references interactions with Mycenaean rulers, further confirming their influence in the ancient world. Mycenaean technology was highly advanced for its time, particularly in warfare and architecture. Their cities were protected by massive walls, constructed using a technique known as Cyclopean masonry, so named because later Greeks believed only giants could have moved the enormous stones. These fortifications, along with their well-organized military, made Mycenaean cities nearly impregnable. They were skilled metalworkers producing intricate gold masks, weapons, and armor. The famous Mask of Agamemnon, discovered by archaeologist Heinrich Schliemann in Mycenae's royal tombs, is one of the most iconic artifacts of their civilization. The Mycenaeans also mastered the use of chariots in battle, a technology they likely borrowed from the Hittites and Egyptians. Trade was another key aspect of Mycenaean society. They exported olive oil, wine, and textiles, while importing precious metals, ivory, and luxury goods. Their extensive trade networks connected them to the Minoans, the Hittites, and the Egyptians, and some evidence suggests that Mycenaean mercenaries may have served in foreign armies. The Mycenaeans also had an early writing system, Linear B, which was used primarily for record keeping. Unlike the undeciphered Linear A of the Minoans, Linear B was later translated and found to be an early form of Greek, offering valuable insights into Mycenaean governance, economy, and religion. Despite their strength, the Mycenaeans ultimately fell into decline. The causes of their collapse remain one of history's great mysteries. Around 1200 BC, many of their cities were burned and abandoned. Some historians believe that natural disasters, such as earthquakes, weakened the civilization, while others argue that internal strife and rebellion may have played a role. One of the most compelling theories is that they were victims of the so-called Sea Peoples, mysterious invaders who ravaged the eastern Mediterranean around the same time. Another possibility is that the prolonged wars, including a potential conflict with Troy, drained their resources and left them vulnerable. As the Mycenaean world crumbled, their cities fell into ruin, and their writing system disappeared. The Greek world entered a dark age, where knowledge was lost and society became more fragmented. However, the Mycenaeans were not entirely forgotten. Their legends, passed down through oral tradition, became the foundation of Greek mythology. The tales of Agamemnon, Achilles, and the Trojan War, immortalized in Homer's Iliad, were echoes of a lost civilization that had once ruled the Aegean. Today, the ruins of Mycenae, with its towering Lion Gate and sprawling palace complex, offer a glimpse into the power and sophistication of this ancient civilization. The Mycenaeans may have vanished, but their legacy endured, shaping the culture and identity of the Greeks, who would one day build an empire of their own. The rise and fall of this strong empire remains one of history's great epics, a testament to the power, ambition, and eventual fragility of human civilization. The Mycenaeans left behind grand palaces, epic legends, and the foundation for Greek civilization, but their fall plunged the region into a dark age. Yet further west, along the Iberian Peninsula, another enigmatic civilization was thriving. In the sun-drenched lands of southern Iberia, near the meeting point of the Mediterranean and Atlantic, an ancient civilization flourished, growing rich on trade, metals, and myths. Tartessos, a name whispered in Greek and Roman texts, was a kingdom of untold wealth, said to possess streets paved with silver and temples adorned in gold. Its capital, lost to time, was believed to rival the great cities of antiquity. And yet, despite its supposed grandeur, Tartessos vanished, leaving behind only fragments of its legacy buried beneath the Spanish earth. Who were these people? How did they build such a thriving society? And what happened to the kingdom that seemed destined for greatness? Tartessos is thought to have emerged around the 9th century BCE in what is now Andalusia, Spain. This civilization occupied a strategic location along the Iberian Peninsula's southwestern coast, where rivers like the Guadalquivir and Guadiana provided fertile land and easy access to the sea. The region was rich in minerals, gold, silver, and tin, resources that made Tartessos an economic powerhouse. Unlike other lost civilizations, Tartessos was not forgotten by history. The Greeks, especially Herodotus, described it as a prosperous kingdom ruled by a legendary king, Arganthonios, whose reign was said to have lasted an astonishing 80 years. His wealth and generosity were so great that he even aided Greek settlers, gifting them silver and funding their defensive efforts. The heart of Tartessos society lay in its cities, the most famous of which has never been found. Some scholars believe it was located near the mouth of the Guadalquivir River, while others argue that rising sea levels or seismic activity may have swallowed it. Whatever its exact location, Tartessos settlements were advanced for their time. Archaeological discoveries reveal well-planned urban centers with grand buildings, intricate drainage systems, and workshops where metals were refined into tools, weapons, and stunning jewelry. The Tartessos mastered the art of metallurgy, producing highly valued goods that were exported across the Mediterranean, particularly to the Phoenicians, their most important trading partners. Tartessos cities followed a structured layout, with clearly defined districts for residential, commercial, and religious purposes. The settlements were often built near rivers or coastal areas, ensuring easy access to water and trade routes. Streets were likely arranged in a grid-like pattern, a feature found in some later Iberian settlements, suggesting a sophisticated approach to urban planning. Central plazas served as gathering spaces where merchants and artisans displayed their goods, while elite compounds housed the ruling class in large stone dwellings. Many structures were built using a combination of stone and adobe, with wooden supports reinforcing the larger buildings. Some of the most impressive Tartessosan complexes, such as Cancho Roano and Casas del Toruñuelo, featured multi-story buildings with courtyards, storage rooms, and even defensive walls, indicating a concern for both function and security. Religious structures played a significant role in city layouts. Temples and shrines dedicated to deities, particularly those associated with fertility and protection, were often centrally located, surrounded by public spaces where rituals and ceremonies took place. These temples may have been adorned with metalwork and intricate carvings, reflecting the wealth and devotion of the Tartessos people. Some sites suggest the presence of altars used for offerings, possibly including animal sacrifices or the pouring of libations to honor the gods. The influence of Phoenician religious practices is evident in these temples, as the Tartessos likely adopted some of their spiritual customs while blending them with their own indigenous beliefs. Trade was the lifeblood of Tartessos. The kingdom's wealth came from its ability to supply the ancient world with valuable minerals, particularly tin, an essential component in making bronze. The Tartessians established strong ties with Phoenician merchants who arrived from the eastern Mediterranean seeking resources. In exchange for metal, they brought luxurious goods, fine textiles, spices, glassware, and advanced shipbuilding techniques. This interaction with the Phoenicians introduced the Tartessians to new ideas, including writing. While little is known about their language, inscriptions found in the region suggest they developed an early script influenced by the Phoenician alphabet. Tartessian society was hierarchical, with an elite ruling class overseeing the wealth generated by trade and mining. King Argentonios, whether historical or mythical, represented the pinnacle of this structure, likely surrounded by nobles, merchants, and religious figures who controlled economic and spiritual matters. The common people, including miners, farmers, and artisans, formed the backbone of the civilization, working to sustain the kingdom's prosperity. Slavery may have played a role as well, given the labor-intensive nature of mining operations. Despite the rigid hierarchy, Tartessos thrived, its society holding together through mutual economic gain and cultural enrichment. Religion in Tartessos was a blend of indigenous Iberian beliefs and foreign influences. The Phoenicians introduced their deities, and over time, the Tartessians incorporated aspects of Eastern Mediterranean religious practices into their own. Archaeological evidence suggests that they worshipped a goddess similar to Astarte, the Phoenician deity associated with fertility and war. Temples adorned with intricate carvings and sacrificial altars point to a complex spiritual life, possibly centered around natural elements like rivers and mountains. The fusion of local and imported religious ideas created a unique belief system, one that reflected the civilization's openness to outside influence while maintaining its own identity. The question of why Tartessos disappeared remains one of history's great enigmas. By the 5th century BCE, the civilization that had once dazzled the Mediterranean world had seemingly faded from existence. There are several theories attempting to explain its downfall. One possibility is that environmental changes, such as catastrophic flooding or prolonged droughts, made the region uninhabitable. Some scholars point to a major seismic event, possibly a tsunami, which could have devastated coastal settlements and forced survivors to migrate inland, leaving their cities to be swallowed by the earth and sea. Another theory involves political turmoil and military conflict. The rise of Carthage, a powerful Phoenician colony, may have disrupted Tartessian trade routes, cutting off the flow of goods that sustained the kingdom's economy. Additionally, the expansion of Iberian tribes from the north could have led to conflicts that weakened the once thriving civilization. Without trade and security, Tartessos may have slowly collapsed, its people dispersing into other cultures and leaving behind only echoes of their former glory. Perhaps the most fascinating theory is that Tartessos evolved rather than disappeared. Some researchers suggest that elements of Tartessian culture lived on in later Iberian civilizations, such as the Tertatani, a people who inhabited the same region and retained aspects of Tartessian language and customs. If this is true, then Tartessos did not truly vanish. It simply transformed, blending into the ever-changing landscape of history. Today, the search for Tartessos continues. Archaeologists uncover new artifacts every year, each discovery adding to the puzzle of this lost civilization. The ruins of Concho Roano and Casos del Turunhuelo, elaborate Tartessian complexes, provide glimpses into the kingdom's architectural achievements and way of life. With advancements in technology and excavation techniques, it is possible that the lost capital of Tartessos may one day be found, buried beneath the sands of Spain or hidden beneath the waters of the Atlantic. The story of Tartessos is one of wealth, power, and mystery. A kingdom that once shone brightly in the Mediterranean world, only to be consumed by time. Yet, its legacy endures in the myths of the ancients, in the gold and silver that still emerges from the Spanish soil, and in the relentless search for the truth. Somewhere, beneath the earth or within the forgotten lines of ancient texts, the final chapter of Tartessos awaits discovery. Until then, its legend continues to captivate those who seek to uncover the past, reminding us that even the greatest civilizations can disappear, leaving behind only whispers of their former splendor. As Tartessos faded into obscurity, its wealth and knowledge lost to time, another civilization was shaping its own legacy in the vast deserts of the Middle East. In the heart of the Arabian desert, where the sun bakes the earth and towering cliffs rise from the sand, a hidden city was carved into stone. Petra, the legendary Rose City, stands as the most famous remnant of the Nabataean civilization, a people whose wealth, skill, and ingenuity allowed them to build an empire in one of the most unforgiving landscapes on Earth. But who were the Nabataeans, and what led to their disappearance from history? The first clues to their existence date back over 2,000 years, recorded by Greek and Roman historians, who marveled at their ability to control vast trade networks across the Middle East. However, much of what we know about them comes not from written records, but from the breathtaking ruins they left behind. Their cities, tombs, and water systems, carved directly into desert cliffs, provide a glimpse into a civilization that once thrived, but mysteriously faded. The Nabataeans emerged as a distinct culture around the 4th century BCE, originally as nomadic traders in the deserts of modern-day Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Israel, and Syria. They gained immense wealth by controlling the trade of precious goods like frankincense, myrrh, and spices, luxuries that flowed from Arabia and the Far East to the Mediterranean. Rather than conquer through war, the Nabataeans built their power through commerce, creating a vast network of trade routes that connected the civilizations of the ancient world. Petra, their most famous city, became the heart of their kingdom. It was strategically located at the crossroads of major trade routes, allowing the Nabataeans to amass wealth by taxing and protecting caravans that passed through. Unlike other ancient civilizations that relied on rivers, the Nabataeans mastered the art of water management, creating an intricate system of cisterns, dams, and underground channels to store and distribute water in the arid desert. This innovation allowed them to build lush gardens and sustain a growing population in an otherwise inhospitable region. But how did they carve their magnificent cities into sheer rock faces? The Nabataeans used a technique called rock-cut architecture. Instead of building structures from the ground up, they carved entire buildings, tombs, and temples directly into sandstone cliffs. Workers likely began from the top of a cliff and carved downward, chiseling intricate details as they descended. This method ensured that the structures remained stable while allowing artisans to create elaborate facades, like the famous Al-Khazneh, the treasury, with its towering columns and intricate sculptures. Their society was a blend of different cultures, influenced by the Greek, Roman, Egyptian, and Mesopotamian civilizations with whom they traded. This is reflected in their art and architecture, which display a mix of Hellenistic, Arabian, and local styles. The Nabataeans were polytheistic, worshipping a variety of gods, including Dushara, the chief deity associated with mountains and strength, and Al-Uzza, a goddess linked to fertility and protection. Their temples and tombs, carved into the rock, were not only places of worship, but also testaments to their wealth and reverence for the afterlife. The Nabataeans also developed a distinct language known as Nabataean Aramaic, a variant of Aramaic that incorporated elements of Arabic. Their script, influenced by both Aramaic and later Arabic scripts, has been found inscribed on monuments, tombs, and coins. While their inscriptions often consist of names and short dedications, they provide valuable insights into the administration and daily life of their civilization. Scholars believe that Nabataean Aramaic played a crucial role in the eventual development of the Arabic script, making it a linguistic bridge between the ancient and medieval worlds. The social structure of the Nabataean civilization is less understood due to the lack of extensive written records, but archaeological evidence suggests a hierarchical society led by powerful kings. The most famous of these was King Aretas IV, 9 BCE, 40 CE, under whom Petra flourished into a grand metropolis. Merchants and traders held significant influence as their wealth fueled the city's growth, while skilled artisans, engineers, and laborers played a crucial role in building its architectural wonders. Despite their prosperity, the Nabataeans' dominance did not last. By the 1st century CE, the expanding Roman Empire set its sights on their wealth and strategic trade routes. In 106 CE, the Romans annexed Nabataea, absorbing it into the empire without much resistance. Some historians believe the Nabataeans, having already integrated into Roman culture and trade, saw little reason to fight back. Petra remained an important city under Roman rule, but gradually declined as new trade routes bypassed it. Then, around the 4th century CE, Petra and other Nabataean cities were largely abandoned. The reasons for this decline are not entirely clear, but several factors likely played a role. Changes in trade patterns, natural disasters such as earthquakes, and shifting political landscapes may have all contributed to their disappearance. The final blow came in 363 CE, when a massive earthquake devastated Petra's infrastructure, including its vital water systems, making the city difficult to sustain. But how do we know all of this? Since the Nabataeans left behind few written records, archaeologists have pieced together their history through their surviving structures, inscriptions, and artifacts. Excavations in Petra and other Nabataean sites have revealed pottery, tools, and artwork that provide insights into their daily lives, religious practices, and trade networks. Advanced imaging and 3D scanning have helped researchers understand the construction techniques used to carve their monumental buildings. Additionally, inscriptions in Nabataean Aramaic offer glimpses into their language and administration, linking them to both earlier and later civilizations in the region. The legacy of the Nabataeans lives on, not only in the breathtaking ruins of Petra, but in the echoes of their cultural influence across the Middle East. Their mastery of trade, water engineering, and architecture set the stage for future civilizations in the region. Today, Petra stands as a UNESCO World Heritage Site and one of the new 7 wonders of the world, drawing visitors from around the globe who marvel at the achievements of this lost civilization. Yet the Nabataeans remain an enigma. Why did they leave so few records of their own history? How did they rise to such prominence and then disappear so quietly? As archaeologists continue to uncover new clues, perhaps one day we will understand the full story of the Nabataeans. Until then, their silent stone city remains a testament to a civilization that once ruled the desert and then vanished into history, leaving only whispers of their greatness behind. The rise and fall of great civilizations often leave behind more questions than answers. Some vanish into the desert, while others sink beneath the waves, their secrets hidden in stone and time. Far out in the Pacific, scattered among the turquoise waters of the Micronesian islands, lies one of the most enigmatic archaeological mysteries in the world, Nan Madol. Hidden away on the island of Pohnpei, this forgotten city is a place unlike any other, a labyrinth of stone walls, narrow canals, and towering basalt columns. For centuries, the site has inspired awe and confusion in equal measure. Historians struggle to explain how it was built, who its inhabitants were, and why this once thriving civilization suddenly disappeared. The first thing to understand about Nan Madol is its impossible location. Pohnpei is a lush, mountainous island surrounded by coral reefs, isolated from the nearest major landmass by hundreds of miles of open ocean. In this remote environment, a civilization not only flourished, but constructed an entire city on top of the water. Nan Madol is made up of over 90 artificial islets, each formed by stacking massive basalt boulders atop coral foundations. These islets are separated by narrow canals, giving the city its nickname, the Venice of the Pacific. The sheer scale of Nan Madol is staggering. Some of the basalt columns weigh over 50 tons, yet they were somehow quarried, transported, and stacked into towering walls. The outer barrier walls reach heights of nearly 30 feet, their dark stones towering over the tangled mangroves that now encroach on the ruins. How these stones were moved remains one of the greatest mysteries in Pacific archaeology. There is no evidence of pulleys, wheels, or draft animals on Pohnpei, yet the builders managed to transport these enormous stones from quarries on the other side of the island, some over 10 miles away. The people responsible for this marvel are believed to be the Saldolur dynasty, a ruling elite who dominated Pohnpei from around the 12th century until the early 1600s. The Saldolur established Nan Madol as a religious and political center, one that became the heart of their power. Oral histories describe the Saldolur rulers as strict and demanding, maintaining rigid control over the island's inhabitants. According to legend, the rulers imposed harsh tribute requirements, forcing nearby communities to supply food, materials, and labor for the construction of Nan Madol. Yet the true origins of Nan Madol go even deeper. Oral traditions speak of two brothers, Olo Sopa and Olo Sopa, who were believed to be powerful sorcerers. The brothers are said to have sailed to Pohnpei in search of a place to build an altar where they could practice their magic. After attempting to construct their sacred site in several other locations, they chose the shallow tidal flats off Pohnpei's eastern shore as the foundation for what would become Nan Madol. According to legend, the brothers called upon supernatural forces to move the massive stones into place, suggesting that magic played a role in the city's creation. While these stories are likely rooted in myth, they reflect the sense of awe that the ruins still inspire. Archaeological evidence reveals that Nan Madol's residents were a highly organized society. The city itself was divided into distinct zones. Some areas served as ceremonial centers, where priests conducted rituals to honor the gods. Others held the homes of the ruling elite, constructed from basalt and coral in striking contrast to the simple wooden dwellings of the common people who lived outside the city. The Saldolur rulers appear to have used Nan Madol as both a seat of power and a means of social control. By gathering the island's elite within its stone walls, they ensured that potential rivals remained under constant watch. Life within Nan Madol must have been challenging. The canals that gave the city its unique structure also made access to fresh water and fertile soil difficult. Food had to be transported from nearby villages, while residents relied on deep wells and rainwater for drinking. Maintaining a city of stone in such a demanding environment required extensive labor and resources. This dependence may have contributed to the city's eventual collapse. By the early 1600s, the Saldolur dynasty fell. According to local legend, their downfall came at the hands of a warrior named Isokarel, who arrived from a distant island and led a successful rebellion against the ruling elite. The stories describe Isokarel as a powerful figure, one who symbolized the wrath of the oppressed islanders. Following his victory, Nan Madol was gradually abandoned, and its towering walls were left to be claimed by the jungle. The city's intricate network of canals became choked with vegetation, and the stone structures fell into quiet decay. Modern researchers have offered several theories about Nan Madol's decline. Some suggest that environmental factors played a role. Perhaps the delicate coral foundations shifted or sank over time, weakening the city's stability. Others believe the Saldolur rulers simply overextended their resources, relying too heavily on labor and tribute until their subjects could no longer sustain the burden. Whatever the cause, Nan Madol's fall marked the end of a powerful dynasty and the disappearance of a culture that had thrived in isolation for centuries. Today, Nan Madol stands as a haunting reminder of a forgotten past. The canals are silent, their waters reflecting the dark basalt walls that rise above them. The air hangs heavy with the scent of salt and decaying leaves, and few visitors venture deep into the site. Locals speak of a lingering presence, a belief that the spirits of Nan Madol's former rulers still watch over the ruins. Some refuse to visit the site after dark, fearing the wrath of the ancient spirits that are said to guard its secrets. Even modern technology has struggled to unlock Nan Madol's mysteries. Attempts to map the underwater foundations reveal a sprawling network of stone structures stretching far beyond what can be seen above the surface. Some believe there may be even more undiscovered chambers and pathways buried beneath centuries of silt and coral. Perhaps most intriguing is the theory that Nan Madol may be part of something even larger. Some researchers have speculated that the city is the last surviving remnant of a forgotten Pacific civilization, a culture that may have once stretched across vast distances before vanishing into myth. The idea has drawn comparisons to the legend of Lemuria, a supposed lost continent said to have existed in the Indian and Pacific Oceans. While mainstream archaeology remains skeptical of such claims, the eerie isolation of Nan Madol continues to invite speculation. For now, Nan Madol remains an unsolved mystery, a place where history seems to linger just out of reach. Its towering stone walls tell a story of power, belief and ingenuity, but they also hint at something more, a lost chapter in the human story that may never be fully understood. As the jungle slowly reclaims its stones and the tides continue to lap at its canals, Nan Madol keeps its secrets hidden, waiting for those bold enough to seek them out. Some civilizations rise in defiance of nature, their ingenuity shaping the impossible. But even the greatest societies can vanish, leaving behind only ruins and unanswered questions. Long before the rise of classical Greece, an extraordinary civilization flourished on the island of Crete, one so advanced that its achievements shaped the cultures that followed. This was the Minoan Civilization, a powerful maritime society that dominated the Aegean for over 1,000 years. The Minoans built vast palaces, developed one of the earliest known writing systems, and created stunning works of art. Yet, despite their sophistication, they disappeared, leaving behind only ruins and unanswered questions. Their story is one of prosperity, mystery, and an enigmatic downfall that still captivates historians and archaeologists today. To understand the Minoans, one must first imagine the world of the Bronze Age, a time when civilizations were just beginning to flourish. Crete, the largest of the Greek islands, was ideally positioned at the crossroads of three continents: Europe, Asia, and Africa. The island was rich in natural resources, with fertile land for agriculture, dense forests for shipbuilding, and deposits of valuable minerals. The Minoans took full advantage of their strategic location, developing a maritime empire that connected them to Egypt, Mesopotamia, and Anatolia. Through trade, they acquired exotic goods such as gold, ivory, and precious stones, which they transformed into exquisite works of art. The Minoans were known for their grand palaces, the most famous of which was the Palace of Knossos. Unlike the fortress-like structures of later Greek cities, Minoan palaces were sprawling, labyrinthine complexes filled with open courtyards, grand staircases, and elaborate frescoes. These palaces were more than just royal residences. They were centers of administration, trade, and religious activity. Knossos, in particular, has been linked to the myth of the Minotaur and the labyrinth, suggesting that Minoan culture may have inspired some of the most enduring legends of ancient Greece. Minoan society was remarkably sophisticated, with a social structure that appears to have been relatively peaceful and well-organized. Unlike the warlike kingdoms of Mesopotamia and Egypt, there is little evidence of large-scale military conflict on Crete. The Minoans did not build massive defensive walls around their cities, suggesting they either enjoyed long periods of peace or relied on their naval power for protection. The economy was based on agriculture, trade, and craftsmanship, with skilled artisans producing fine pottery, textiles, and metalwork. The social hierarchy of Minoan civilization was complex, but appears to have been more fluid than that of other Bronze Age societies. At the top were the ruling elite, possibly including a monarch or a priest-king who resided in the great palaces. These rulers likely controlled trade, religious ceremonies, and legal matters. Below them were the priesthood, who played a central role in governance and religious life. Priests and priestesses oversaw rituals, maintained temples, and acted as intermediaries between the people and the gods. Unlike many contemporary civilizations, the Minoans seem to place a significant emphasis on female religious figures, suggesting that women may have held considerable power in both religious and political spheres. Beneath the priesthood and ruling class were the artisans, merchants, and traders, who formed the backbone of the economy. These skilled craftsmen produced the intricate pottery, jewelry, and textiles that were highly sought after across the Mediterranean. Farmers and laborers occupied the lower levels of society, growing crops such as wheat, barley, olives, and grapes. Due to Crete's extensive trade networks, even lower-class citizens may have had access to goods and cultural influences from far-reaching civilizations. One of the most intriguing aspects of Minoan civilization is its religion. Unlike later Greek religion, which was dominated by male deities, Minoan spirituality appears to have been centered around powerful female goddesses. The most famous of these figures is the snake goddess, depicted in statues holding writhing serpents, symbolizing fertility, renewal, and protection. Other religious imagery includes depictions of a mother goddess, associated with nature and agricultural abundance. The prominence of these goddesses suggests that Minoan society may have been matrilineal, or at the very least, placed women in significant religious roles. Rituals and ceremonies played a vital role in Minoan life. The famous bull-leaping frescoes suggest that bulls were sacred animals, possibly linked to religious festivals or initiation rites. Some scholars believe that bull-leaping may have had a symbolic or ritualistic function, representing a connection between humans and the divine. Other rituals likely involved processions, dances, and offerings at sacred sites, including mountain shrines and caves. The Minoan writing system remains one of the great mysteries of ancient history. They developed two scripts, an early hieroglyphic script and a later syllabic script known as Linear A. Unlike Linear B, which was used by the Mycenaeans and has been deciphered, Linear A remains undeciphered. This has made it difficult to fully understand the details of Minoan governance, laws, and daily life, adding to the enigma of their civilization. Despite their prosperity, the Minoans eventually fell into decline. For many years, historians debated the cause of their downfall, and while no single explanation has been confirmed, several theories offer possible answers. One of the most compelling is the eruption of the Thera volcano around 1600 BC. Located on the nearby island of Santorini, this massive eruption is believed to have triggered devastating tsunamis that swept across Crete's northern coast, destroying key ports and settlements. The resulting ash cloud may have also caused agricultural collapse, leading to widespread famine and economic instability. Another possibility is invasion. By 1450 BC, the Mycenaeans, a warlike people from mainland Greece, had taken control of Crete. Archaeological evidence suggests that many Minoan palaces were burned and abandoned around this time. Whether this was due to violent conquest or internal strife remains unclear, but it is evident that the Mycenaeans absorbed much of Minoan culture, incorporating their writing system, art, and religious practices into their own civilization. There is also the theory of gradual decline. Some historians argue that the Minoans may have suffered from a series of natural disasters, economic troubles, and political instability that weakened their society over time. Earthquakes were common in the region, and repeated destruction may have made it difficult for the Minoans to rebuild and maintain their dominance in the Aegean. Adding to the mystery is the fact that the Minoans left behind few records of their own demise. Unlike the Egyptians or the Mesopotamians, who documented their histories extensively, the Minoan collapse is shrouded in silence. As their cities fell into ruin, their knowledge, traditions, and language were largely lost to history. Today, the ruins of Knossos and other Minoan sites stand as a testament to this once great civilization. The vibrant frescoes, intricate pottery, and enigmatic scripts offer glimpses into a world that was advanced, artistic, and deeply connected to the sea. Modern archaeological excavations continue to uncover new evidence, shedding light on the daily lives, religious practices, and trade networks of the Minoans. However, the full story of their rise and fall remains elusive. The question lingers: what truly happened to the Minoans? Was it the fury of nature, the violence of invasion, or the slow erosion of power that led to their disappearance? Perhaps the answer lies beneath the unexcavated ruins of Crete, waiting to reveal the final chapter of this enigmatic civilization. Until then, the Minoans remain one of history's greatest lost cultures, their legacy preserved in myth, art, and the crumbling stones of their vanished empire. Great civilizations have flourished and faded, their legacies buried beneath time and earth. But deep within the Amazon, hidden beneath the dense canopy, lie the remnants of another lost world, one that challenges everything we thought we knew about the ancient past. For centuries, the Amazon rainforest was thought to be an untouched wilderness, a place where nature ruled and human civilization had never flourished. But beneath the dense canopy, hidden for centuries, are the remnants of something extraordinary, evidence of a vast and thriving network of ancient cities that challenges everything we thought we knew about the pre-Columbian Americas. Far from being an impenetrable jungle, occupied only by small, isolated tribes, the Amazon was once home to a sophisticated civilization, one that shaped its environment on a massive scale. For most of history, scholars believed that the Amazon's nutrient-poor soil could not support large populations. The idea that great cities once stood here was dismissed as a myth, fueled by the exaggerated tales of early explorers. But recent discoveries tell a different story. Satellite imagery, archaeological excavations, and even early European accounts all point to a civilization that built sprawling settlements, intricate road networks, and advanced agricultural systems capable of feeding millions. The first written accounts of these lost cities date back to the 16th century, when Spanish explorer Francisco de Orellana became the first European to navigate the entire Amazon River. He reported seeing vast urban centers along the riverbanks, thriving populations, monumental architecture, and fields stretching as far as the eye could see. He described highly structured societies with organized leadership, trade networks, and an abundance of food. But when later explorers retraced his route, they found no trace of these civilizations. His stories were dismissed as fabrications, and for centuries, the idea of an advanced Amazonian culture remained buried, both literally and historically. It wasn't until the late 20th and early 21st centuries that the first undeniable evidence of these lost cities began to emerge. One of the most striking discoveries came from satellite images, which revealed massive geometric earthworks hidden beneath the forest canopy. Circles, squares, and hexagons, each spanning hundreds of meters, suggest that these settlements were built with astonishing mathematical precision. In some areas, thousands of these geoglyphs have been uncovered, revealing a civilization that planned its cities with deliberate design. Even more remarkable is the discovery of extensive road networks and canal systems. These raised roads, built to withstand flooding, stretch for miles across the jungle, connecting settlements in a way that suggests a highly organized society. Some were large enough to support trade and communication between distant regions, while others appear to have been ceremonial paths leading to ritual centers. The discovery of terra preta, an artificially created nutrient-rich soil, has added another layer to the mystery. Unlike the naturally poor Amazonian soil, terra preta retains its fertility for centuries, suggesting that the civilization that once inhabited the region had mastered large-scale agriculture. By enriching the land with biochar, compost, and other organic materials, these ancient people turned what was thought to be an uninhabitable environment into a productive landscape capable of sustaining millions. This innovation alone challenges the long-held belief that the Amazon was always a wilderness untouched by human hands. Artifacts recovered from these lost cities include elaborately decorated pottery, stone tools, and even remnants of wooden structures. Some ceramics bear intricate patterns, depictions of animals and human figures, suggesting a deep cultural tradition. These people had artistic expression, advanced craftsmanship, and possibly even religious or spiritual practices centered around their environment. Additionally, finely carved stone tools and remnants of fishing equipment indicate a complex society that relied on both agriculture and the abundant rivers for sustenance. Despite these discoveries, a major mystery remains. Who were these people? Some theories suggest they were ancestors of modern Amazonian indigenous groups, descendants of a civilization that thrived between 1000 BCE and 1500 CE, before mysteriously vanishing. While there is no definitive written script attributed to them, some researchers believe that intricate symbols found on pottery and cave walls may represent a form of proto-writing. Oral traditions among present-day indigenous tribes speak of great ancestors who once lived in mighty settlements, further supporting the idea that these lost cities were part of a thriving culture long before European contact. But what caused their decline? One possibility is that European diseases, brought by explorers like Orellana, devastated the population before later expeditions arrived. Some estimates suggest that 90% of the indigenous inhabitants may have died, leaving their cities abandoned and vulnerable to the relentless spread of the jungle. Other theories point to environmental changes, deforestation, or internal conflict as possible reasons for their disappearance. Without written records, the truth remains elusive. Recent discoveries, however, continue to reshape our understanding. Advanced LiDAR, light detection and ranging technology has uncovered even more evidence of complex settlements beneath the jungle, revealing entire city grids and vast urban planning that rivals that of other well-known ancient civilizations. These findings suggest that rather than being isolated, the people of the Amazon may have been connected through a vast network of trade and culture, possibly even interacting with the Andean civilizations like the Inca. The implications of these findings are profound. They challenge the long-standing notion that the Americas were sparsely populated before European contact. They suggest that the Amazon was not a pristine, untouched paradise, but a landscape actively shaped by human hands. These lost cities may even hold clues to sustainable living, as the ancient inhabitants managed to cultivate the land without destroying it. A lesson modern societies could learn from. Could even greater discoveries be waiting beneath the jungle? If entire civilizations could vanish so completely, how much of human history remains undiscovered? Despite the breakthroughs, many mysteries remain. What language did these people speak? What beliefs did they hold? Were their cities ruled by kings, priests, or councils? And perhaps the most haunting question of all, what else lies hidden beneath the rainforest, waiting to be uncovered? The lost cities of the Amazon challenge everything we thought we knew about the past. They remind us that history is not set in stone, that entire civilizations can rise, flourish, and disappear without a trace. But they also offer a sense of hope, that with every excavation, every discovery, we come one step closer to uncovering the true story of those who came before us. Hidden beneath the Amazon's canopy, traces of a lost civilization challenge what we thought we knew about the past. But deep in the Turkish landscape lies something even older, an ancient site that predates history as we know it. This is Göbekli Tepe, an ancient structure built over 11,000 years ago, thousands of years before Stonehenge or the Great Pyramids. Discovered in the 1960s, but not properly excavated until the 1990s, Göbekli Tepe has since become one of the most significant archaeological sites in the world, challenging long-held beliefs about early society, religion, and human development. To understand Göbekli Tepe, you must first imagine the world as it was at the end of the last ice age. The region that is now Turkey was part of the Fertile Crescent, a lush and resource-rich area stretching from the Persian Gulf through modern-day Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Israel, and parts of Turkey. This region is often called the cradle of civilization because it was here that humans first began to cultivate crops and domesticate animals. During this period, most humans were still hunter-gatherers, living in small groups and moving frequently in search of food. Permanent settlements were rare, and complex societies were believed to have emerged only after the development of agriculture. However, Göbekli Tepe appears to defy that timeline. Built between 9,600 and 8,000 BC, the site predates the advent of farming, suggesting that organized religion and social complexity may have emerged before agriculture rather than as a result of it. Göbekli Tepe itself is a series of circular stone enclosures, each containing massive limestone pillars arranged in rings. Some of these pillars stand over 18 feet tall and weigh up to 20 tons. Many are carved with detailed reliefs depicting animals such as lions, snakes, scorpions, and vultures. The carvings are intricate and lifelike, suggesting that the builders possessed both artistic skill and a deep understanding of the natural world. The pillars are T-shaped, with some appearing to represent stylized human figures, complete with arms, hands, and belts. The construction of Göbekli Tepe would have required impressive technical skill for its time. Quarrying the massive limestone blocks likely involved the use of stone hammers, chisels made from harder stones such as basalt, and possibly wooden wedges soaked in water to split rock. The stones were then transported, possibly using sleds, log rollers, or even teams of people working together over short distances. Given that the site was built before the widespread use of metal tools or the wheel, this achievement reflects remarkable ingenuity. Organizing the labor required to build such a site suggests a high degree of social coordination. Researchers believe that groups from across the region may have gathered seasonally to participate in both construction and associated ceremonies, strengthening social bonds in the process. The layout of Göbekli Tepe appears to have been carefully planned. The circular enclosures are oriented to align with celestial events, suggesting that the site may have served as a type of observatory. Some researchers believe that the positioning of the pillars may have tracked the rising and setting of important stars, or marked the changing of seasons. This indicates that the builders had knowledge of astronomy far more advanced than what was previously thought possible for this period. The carvings themselves are believed to have had symbolic and religious significance. Many depict dangerous animals, possibly representing spiritual forces or protective symbols, Others suggest themes of death and rebirth. The presence of vultures, for example, may indicate sky burials, a ritual in which bodies were left exposed to be consumed by birds before their bones were gathered and buried. This practice is known from later cultures in the region and may have roots in the beliefs held by the builders of Göbekli Tepe. What makes Göbekli Tepe even more mysterious is that the site appears to have been deliberately buried. Archaeologists have found layers of soil packed tightly over the stone circles, preserving the site for millennia. Why this happened remains unclear, but some theories suggest that the people who built Göbekli Tepe may have covered the site as part of a ritual closure, possibly marking the end of its significance as a spiritual center. The society that built Göbekli Tepe remains somewhat elusive. While no permanent homes have been found at the site, archaeologists have uncovered tools made of flint, obsidian, and bone, as well as evidence of feasting on wild animals such as gazelles and boars. This suggests that the people who built Göbekli Tepe were still hunter-gatherers, but they may have periodically gathered in large numbers to construct the site and take part in rituals. Such coordinated effort would have required a high degree of social organization and communication. Göbekli Tepe's discovery has reshaped the understanding of early human civilization. Previously, it was believed that agriculture allowed people to settle in one place, leading to social structures that eventually gave rise to religion and complex society. Göbekli Tepe suggests the opposite, that religion and spiritual gathering places may have inspired the formation of larger communities, which in turn led to the development of agriculture. Ongoing research continues to uncover new insights. Excavations are far from complete, and only a fraction of the site has been fully explored. Ground-penetrating radar has revealed additional circular enclosures still buried beneath the earth, hinting that Göbekli Tepe may be even larger and more complex than previously believed. Each discovery adds new layers to the mystery, from the meaning of the carvings to the identity of the people who built it. The significance of Göbekli Tepe extends beyond archaeology. The site challenges assumptions about how societies form and what motivates people to gather and build. It suggests that spiritual belief may have played a far greater role in shaping human culture than was once thought. The towering pillars of Göbekli Tepe stand as silent witnesses to a forgotten world, one where early humans came together to worship, celebrate, and seek meaning in the vast unknown. Though much about Göbekli Tepe remains a mystery, its discovery has opened a window into an ancient past that continues to captivate historians, archaeologists, and anyone fascinated by the origins of civilization. As excavation continues, new revelations may yet emerge, adding further depth to the story of this remarkable site and the people who built it. Long before written history, Göbekli Tepe stood as a testament to an ancient and enigmatic society. But across the sea, another structure was carved into the earth, an underground labyrinth whose purpose remains just as mysterious. Hidden beneath the surface of Malta lies the Hypogeum of Ħal Saflieni, a vast subterranean complex carved directly into limestone. This underground labyrinth, dating back over 5,000 years, contains chambers, corridors, and burial sites that suggest an advanced civilization with spiritual and scientific knowledge far beyond what was thought possible at the time. But who built it? Why was it constructed? And what secrets are buried within its depths? The Hypogeum of Ħal Saflieni is located in Paola, Malta, and was accidentally discovered in 1902 by workers digging for a new housing project. What they found beneath the surface was astonishing, an enormous underground structure stretching 3 levels deep, with passageways leading to hidden rooms and vast halls, all hewn with remarkable precision. Unlike other ancient sites that were built above ground with grand stone blocks, the Hypogeum was excavated entirely from solid rock, a task that would have required immense skill, planning, and knowledge of structural integrity. The site is estimated to have been constructed between 4000 and 2500 BCE, during Malta's Neolithic period. This places it among the oldest known underground structures in the world, predating the Great Pyramid of Giza by centuries. But what makes the Hypogeum truly unique is not just its age. It is the advanced design, the acoustics, and the mysterious discoveries within. One of the most astonishing features of the Hypogeum is its incredible acoustics. A specific chamber, known as the Oracle Room, is constructed in such a way that sound resonates throughout the entire complex. A deep male voice spoken within this chamber can be heard amplified in other parts of the hypogeum, while female voices do not produce the same effect. Some researchers believe this was intentional and may have played a role in religious ceremonies, rituals, or even some form of early sonic experimentation. Could the builders have understood the effects of sound frequencies in ways we have yet to rediscover? The hypogeum is also known for the discovery of thousands of human remains, suggesting that it served as a burial site for an ancient civilization. However, not all the skeletons found were ordinary. Among them were several elongated skulls, an anomaly that has sparked intense debate. Were these simply the result of genetic traits, ritualistic cranial deformation, or evidence of something stranger, perhaps a distinct and forgotten branch of humanity? These elongated skulls were studied and documented, but many of them later disappeared from public view, fueling conspiracy theories about a hidden history that authorities do not want revealed. Another mystery of the hypogeum is the complete absence of any form of written records left by its builders. Despite the sophistication required to create such an intricate structure, no inscriptions, symbols, or carvings that indicate language or storytelling have been found within its walls. This is unusual, as most ancient societies left behind some form of documentation, whether in the form of petroglyphs, pictographs, or written text. Could the people who constructed the hypogeum have had a system of communication that did not rely on conventional writing? Or was their knowledge deliberately erased over time? Many theories attempt to explain the purpose of the hypogeum. One prevailing idea is that it was a temple dedicated to ancestor worship or an early form of spirituality. The vast number of skeletal remains suggests it may have been a necropolis where the dead were prepared for an afterlife, possibly through elaborate ceremonies conducted within its chambers. Some speculate that the unique acoustic properties of the oracle room indicate that sound played a vital role in these rituals, perhaps as a means of altering consciousness or invoking divine experiences. Another theory is that the hypogeum was not just a burial site, but a sanctuary for an elite or priestly class who possessed hidden knowledge. The effort required to construct such an underground structure suggests a highly organized society with specialized workers, architects, and religious leaders. If this civilization had advanced spiritual or scientific knowledge, could it have been lost or deliberately concealed from future generations? Some researchers have gone even further, suggesting that the hypogeum was part of an ancient network of underground structures that existed long before recorded history. Legends from various cultures speak of subterranean worlds inhabited by advanced beings. Could this site be evidence of such a forgotten past? While mainstream archaeology does not support such theories, the unanswered questions surrounding the hypogeum leave room for speculation. One of the most perplexing aspects of the hypogeum is its abandonment. Around 2500 BCE, the site appears to have been suddenly sealed off and forgotten. There are no clear signs of destruction, invasion, or natural disaster that would explain its sudden closure. Why was such an important structure left behind? Did its builders vanish due to environmental changes, disease, or conflict? Or did something happen within the hypogeum itself that led to its permanent closure? Adding to the mystery, some visitors and researchers who have explored the site claim to have experienced strange sensations, unusual sounds, disorientation, and even a sense of being watched. While these accounts are anecdotal, they contribute to the mystique of the hypogeum as a place of unexplained phenomena. The discovery of the hypogeum raised many questions about the civilization that built it. Who were they? What happened to them? Malta itself has other megalithic structures, such as the Tartessan temples and Har Sharkim, which suggest a highly developed prehistoric culture with an emphasis on religious or ritualistic practices. But without written records or direct descendants, the people who constructed these sites remain an enigma. Despite over a century of research, the hypogeum of Ħal Saflieni continues to defy explanation. Its construction remains a marvel of engineering, its acoustic properties hint at lost knowledge, and its burials, especially the elongated skulls, pose more questions than answers. Could it be that our understanding of ancient civilizations is incomplete? That the history we accept as fact is only a fraction of a far more complex and mysterious past? Today, the hypogeum is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, carefully preserved and monitored. Visitors are allowed in limited numbers to prevent damage to the delicate microclimate within its chambers. Yet, despite modern technology and archaeological advancements, the true story of the Hypogeum remains untold. What secrets lie within its silent halls? Were its builders forgotten by time, or was their history deliberately erased? Until the mysteries of the Hypogeum are fully understood, it stands as a haunting reminder that our ancient past may be far stranger than we ever imagined. Beneath the surface of Malta, the Ħal Saflieni Hypogeum whispers of an ancient past, its chambers echoing with secrets lost to time. But far to the south, another forgotten city once thrived, a place of trade, wealth, and mystery, now buried beneath the hot sand. In the rolling highlands of Ethiopia, hidden beneath layers of earth and time, lie the ruins of a civilization shrouded in mystery. The Harla people, known in local legend as the City of Giants, built a thriving settlement that flourished for centuries before inexplicably vanishing. Unlike other lost civilizations, their memory lingers in the whispers of the land's inhabitants, who claim the Harla were an ancient race of towering beings, driven away by forces unknown. Who were these people? How did they construct a prosperous city in the heart of Africa? And why did they disappear, leaving behind only remnants of their existence? The Harla civilization is believed to have thrived between the 10th and 15th centuries in what is now eastern Ethiopia. Long forgotten by history, it was only recently rediscovered through excavations that revealed a once vibrant trading hub. Unlike many ancient cultures that developed in isolation, Harla was part of a vast commercial network, linking Africa with the Middle East and Asia. Archaeologists have unearthed Chinese porcelain, Arabian glassware, and Indian beads, proving that the people of Harla were engaged in extensive trade far beyond their homeland. At the heart of Harla lay an intricate city, built with a sophistication that defied expectations. The settlement was constructed from large, precisely cut stones, arranged into grand buildings, mosques, and homes that suggested a society of remarkable engineering skill. The sheer size of some of these structures may have given rise to the legends of giants, as later inhabitants could not believe ordinary humans had built such monumental architecture. The stone blocks, some weighing several tons, were quarried from nearby rock formations and meticulously shaped using iron and copper tools. Skilled masons used wedges and levers to split the stone before transporting them using sleds and wooden rollers. The construction techniques demonstrated an advanced understanding of material strength and structural stability, allowing them to build multi-storied buildings that have endured the test of time. Despite the region's arid climate, the Harla found ways to cultivate crops, utilizing advanced irrigation techniques to support a growing population. Their success allowed them to become an important center of commerce, attracting merchants and artisans from across the world. One of the most fascinating aspects of the Harla civilization was its cultural diversity. The discovery of Islamic artifacts, combined with local African traditions, suggests a fusion of beliefs and customs. This multiculturalism extended to their burial practices as well. Archaeologists found a vast necropolis filled with intricately carved gravestones, some inscribed with Arabic script, indicating a blend of indigenous and Islamic traditions. The presence of such elaborate tombs suggests that Harla may have been a religious center, attracting scholars and pilgrims seeking knowledge and spiritual guidance. Social hierarchy in Harla appears to have been structured around trade and religious influence. At the top of society were the ruling elite, likely consisting of wealthy merchants and influential religious leaders who controlled the flow of goods and oversaw the city's administration. Beneath them were artisans, traders, and scholars who contributed to the city's economic and intellectual prosperity. The lower class likely comprised farmers, laborers, and builders, those who sustained the city's food supply and carried out its construction projects. Given the city's importance as a trading hub, social mobility may have been possible for those who acquired wealth or religious prestige. Unlike rigid caste systems found in some other societies, Harla's hierarchy may have been somewhat fluid, allowing talented individuals to ascend through commerce and scholarship. Trade was the lifeblood of Harla, and its people were expert merchants, dealing in gold, textiles, and luxury goods. The city's proximity to the Red Sea trade routes positioned it as a crucial link between Africa and the rest of the world. Camel caravans would have traversed the rugged landscape, carrying goods to and from Harla's bustling markets. This economic success likely contributed to the city's rise, but it may also have played a role in its downfall. The sudden decline of Harla remains an enigma. By the 16th century, the city was abandoned, leaving behind its stone ruins and the lingering tales of giants. Several theories attempt to explain this disappearance. One possibility is environmental degradation. As the population grew and demand for resources increased, deforestation and soil depletion may have made sustaining life increasingly difficult. A shift in climate, possibly prolonged drought, could have exacerbated these challenges, forcing the inhabitants to migrate in search of more fertile lands. Another theory points to political and military conflicts. During this period, Ethiopia was a battleground for warring factions, including the Christian Kingdom of Ethiopia and the expanding influence of Muslim sultanates. The rise of powerful regional states may have led to the conquest or destruction of Harla, its people either absorbed into other societies or scattered across the region. Evidence of fortifications suggests that the city may have been under threat, but whether it fell to external invaders or internal strife remains uncertain. Religious and cultural shifts may have also played a role in Harla's fate. As trade routes changed and new centers of commerce emerged, the city's importance could have diminished, leading to gradual abandonment. The fusion of Islamic and local traditions might have resulted in a transformation of identity, with communities choosing to relocate to more politically stable regions that aligned with their evolving beliefs. Despite its disappearance, Harla's legacy endures in the oral traditions of Ethiopian communities. The legend of the giants, though exaggerated, hints at the awe-inspiring nature of the civilization's architecture and achievements. The modern Hari people, one of Ethiopia's most historically significant ethnic groups, may be descendants of the Harla, preserving elements of their language, customs, and traditions. Today, the ruins of Harla offer a glimpse into a forgotten past, a reminder that history is filled with civilizations that once thrived and then vanished, leaving behind only traces of their existence. Archaeologists continue to uncover new findings, each discovery adding another piece to the puzzle of who the Harla were and what ultimately became of them. The answers may still be buried beneath the Ethiopian soil, waiting to be revealed. Perhaps one day, through continued research and exploration, the full story of Harla will come to light. Until then, its ruins remain as silent witnesses to a civilization that defied the harshness of its environment, built a thriving city, and left behind mysteries that continue to captivate those who seek to understand the past. Harla, the city of giants, stands as a testament to a lost civilization, its origins and influence still shrouded in mystery. Yet farther north, another ancient empire once rose to power, leaving behind massive stone ruins and enigmatic inscriptions. There was once a mighty empire that ruled over vast lands stretching from the mountains of Anatolia to the edges of the Mediterranean, a civilization that stood as a rival to Egypt and Babylon. This was the Hittite Empire, a kingdom of warriors, scholars, and master diplomats that thrived for centuries before vanishing into the depths of history. For a long time, the Hittites were known only through references in the Bible and ancient Egyptian texts, leading some to believe they were nothing more than myth. But when archaeologists uncovered the ruins of their capital, Hattusa, the truth emerged. The Hittites were real, and their empire was once one of the most powerful in the ancient world. To understand the Hittite Empire, you must first picture the land they ruled. The Hittites emerged in what is now modern-day Turkey, a region known as Anatolia. This land was filled with rolling hills, fertile valleys, and rugged mountains, providing natural defenses and abundant resources. Anatolia was a crossroads of civilizations, connecting the great powers of Mesopotamia to the east and the cultures of the Mediterranean to the west. The Hittites took advantage of this, building an empire that controlled key trade routes and commanded the loyalty of smaller kingdoms. The Hittites first appeared around 1600 BC, rising from a collection of warring city-states into a centralized kingdom. By the 14th century BC, they had expanded into a full-fledged empire, challenging the dominance of Egypt and Assyria. Their capital, Hattusa, became one of the most impressive cities of its time, surrounded by massive stone walls and filled with grand temples, palaces, and archives containing thousands of clay tablets. These tablets, written in cuneiform, recorded everything from treaties to religious rituals, revealing the complexity of Hittite society. The Hittites were masterful warriors, known for their innovations in warfare. They were among the first to use iron weapons, giving them an advantage over enemies still reliant on bronze. Their armies were feared across the ancient world, with heavily armored chariots that could strike with devastating speed. The Hittite chariot was not just a vehicle of war, but a symbol of power, allowing their elite warriors to dominate battlefields and expand their territory. Despite their military strength, the Hittites were also skilled diplomats. They maintained an intricate network of alliances, using marriage and treaties to secure peace with rival nations. One of the most famous examples is the Treaty of Kadesh, signed between the Hittite king and Pharaoh Ramses II of Egypt around 1259 BC. This treaty, which ended a long and bloody conflict between the two empires, is one of the oldest known peace agreements in history and stands as a testament to the Hittites' ability to negotiate rather than rely solely on war. At the heart of Hittite society was their religion, a complex belief system that incorporated gods from many different cultures. The Hittites were polytheistic, worshipping a vast pantheon of deities, including the storm god Taruna, the sun goddess Arina, and countless local gods from the regions they conquered. Religious festivals were held regularly, and the king himself acted as the high priest, ensuring the favor of the gods. The Hittites believed that their empire was protected by divine forces, and their rulers were expected to uphold sacred traditions to maintain harmony between the heavens and the earth. The Hittite social structure was highly organized, with the king at the top, followed by nobles, priests, and military leaders. Below them were craftsmen, merchants, and farmers, who formed the backbone of the economy. Unlike some ancient civilizations where the ruler was seen as a god, the Hittite king was more of a first among equals, expected to listen to his advisors and the assembly of nobles. This system allowed for a level of stability that helped the empire endure for centuries. The Hittites built great cities, developed advanced legal codes, and engaged in extensive trade. They were among the first to document their laws in written form, creating a legal system that was surprisingly fair for its time. Their laws focused on compensation rather than harsh punishment, reflecting a society that valued order and negotiation. They traded goods such as textiles, metals, and horses with distant lands, linking their empire to the broader ancient world. But for all their greatness, the Hittites could not escape the forces of history. In the late 13th century BC, their empire began to weaken. The reasons for this decline are still debated, but several factors likely contributed. Climate change may have caused droughts and food shortages, weakening the economy. Internal struggles between rival factions may have destabilized the government. And then there were the mysterious Sea Peoples, a group of raiders and invaders who swept across the Mediterranean, toppling civilizations in their wake. One of the greatest mysteries of the Hittite Empire is why their capital, Hattusa, was abandoned. The once thriving city, with its towering walls and grand palaces, was suddenly left in ruins. Some believe the city was attacked and burned by invaders, while others think it was simply abandoned due to famine or internal collapse. What is certain is that by 1180 BC, the Hittite Empire was no more, its lands divided among smaller kingdoms, and its people absorbed into other cultures. For centuries, the Hittites were forgotten. Unlike the Egyptians and Mesopotamians, they left behind no great monuments or easily decipherable texts. Their names survived only in the records of their rivals and in biblical references, where they were mentioned as a powerful but distant people. It was not until the 19th century that archaeologists began uncovering evidence of their existence, and in the early 20th century, the ruins of Hattusa were finally excavated. The discovery of thousands of clay tablets confirmed that the Hittites were not a myth, but one of the great powers of the ancient world. The fall of the Hittites remains one of history's great enigmas. Were they wiped out by foreign invaders, or did their own internal struggles bring them down? Could a combination of natural disasters and economic decline have sealed their fate? The truth may never be fully known, but their legacy endures. The Hittites were pioneers in warfare, diplomacy, and law, and their influence can be seen in the civilizations that followed. Their treaties, their legal codes, and their innovations in metallurgy helped shape the ancient world. Today, the ruins of Hattusa stand as a silent reminder of this lost empire. The great city, once filled with the sounds of chariots and temple hymns, now lies in quiet ruins, its secrets slowly being uncovered by archaeologists. Each discovery adds another piece to the puzzle, revealing a civilization that was once at the center of the ancient world, but was ultimately swallowed by time. The Hittite Empire was not the first great civilization to rise and fall, and it would not be the last. But its story serves as a powerful reminder of how even the mightiest empires can disappear, leaving behind only fragments of their former glory. The Hittites ruled with strength and wisdom, forging alliances and battling rivals, building cities and crafting laws that outlived their own kingdom. And though their empire may have faded, their legacy endures in the echoes of history, waiting to be rediscovered by those who seek to understand the past. As the great empires of the ancient world left their mark on history, some civilizations thrived in silence, their achievements forgotten with time. Far to the east, one such culture flourished, only to disappear without explanation, leaving behind remnants of a lost era. In the misty deltas of the Yangtze River, where the waters weave through lush, fertile lands, a civilization once thrived, its grandeur rivaling the greatest cultures of antiquity. The Liangzhu Civilization, a sophisticated society that flourished over 5,000 years ago in what is now eastern China, built one of the earliest known hydraulic engineering systems, created exquisite jade artifacts, and developed an advanced urban culture that hinted at the dawn of Chinese civilization. Yet, for reasons still debated by scholars, Liangzhu fell, leaving behind only silent ruins buried beneath the earth. Who were these people? How did they construct such an advanced society so early in history? And why did their civilization disappear, swallowed by time and nature? The Liangzhu civilization emerged around 3300 BCE and flourished until roughly 2300 BCE. It occupied the Taihu Lake region in present-day Zhejiang province, a landscape rich in rivers and wetlands. This environment provided an abundant supply of food and resources, allowing the Liangzhu people to develop a complex and hierarchical society. They were among the first in East Asia to construct walled cities, with the most remarkable being the ancient city of Liangzhu itself, a massive urban center surrounded by an elaborate system of levees, canals, and reservoirs designed to control water flow. This feat of engineering, unprecedented for its time, suggests a society with centralized leadership capable of coordinating large-scale construction projects. The heart of Liangzhu society was its cities, built with a level of planning that reflected a deep understanding of organization and governance. The largest settlement, Liangzhu City, covered nearly 3 million square meters and was protected by an earthen wall up to 6 meters high and 40 meters wide. Within these walls lay palatial structures, vast storage areas for grain and living quarters for the elite. The city's layout was meticulously designed, with a central ceremonial complex at its core, surrounded by residential districts and production centers, where artisans crafted their world-renowned jade artifacts. The construction of Liangzhu's cities was a remarkable feat that required careful planning and extensive labor. Archaeologists have uncovered evidence of large-scale earthworks, where vast quantities of soil were excavated, transported, and compacted to form the towering walls and defensive structures. The walls were reinforced with wooden frameworks, ensuring their durability against floods and potential invasions. The hydraulic system, which included more than 10 dams and numerous canals, was integral to the city's survival, allowing the Liangzhu people to manage water resources efficiently. This level of engineering sophistication suggests an advanced understanding of civil planning, one that would not be surpassed in China until thousands of years later. Population estimates for Liangzhu vary, but archaeologists believe that the civilization may have supported tens of thousands of people across its vast territory. Liangzhu city itself may have housed between 30,000 to 50,000 residents, making it one of the largest settlements of its time. Smaller satellite communities and agricultural villages would have extended the population further, possibly reaching over 100,000 individuals within the broader Liangzhu cultural sphere. This high population density was supported by their advanced agricultural techniques, particularly rice cultivation, which ensured a steady food supply for their growing society. Jade, the stone of heaven, was at the center of Liangzhu culture, serving as both an artistic expression and a spiritual medium. The Liangzhu people produced some of the most intricate and sophisticated jade carvings in history, shaping the stone into ritual objects such as Kong tubular artifacts and Bai circular discs, both of which played a crucial role in their religious and ceremonial practices. The symbolism of these objects remains mysterious, though scholars believe they were linked to cosmology, representing the heavens and the earth. The sheer volume of jade found in elite burials indicates that it was more than just an artistic material. It was a marker of power, status, and perhaps divine authority. Beyond their architectural and artistic achievements, the Liangzhu people were highly skilled in agriculture. They cultivated rice in vast paddies, using sophisticated irrigation techniques to control flooding and ensure stable harvests. This early mastery of rice farming allowed their population to grow, supporting a complex society with a division of labor that included farmers, artisans, traders, and rulers. Their economy was further bolstered by fishing, hunting, and animal husbandry, creating a well-balanced and sustainable way of life. The social structure of Liangzhu was highly stratified, as evidenced by the burial sites excavated by archaeologists. Elite tombs, adorned with luxurious jade objects and other valuables, were vastly different from those of common citizens, suggesting a ruling class with immense power. Some researchers believe that Liangzhu was governed by a theocratic elite, with rulers who not only wielded political control, but also acted as religious leaders. This idea is supported by the presence of large ceremonial centers, where rituals likely reinforced the divine authority of the ruling class. Religion played a significant role in Liangzhu society, though much of its belief system remains shrouded in mystery. The presence of jade artifacts, sacrificial pits, and altar-like structures suggests a complex spiritual life, possibly involving ancestor worship and nature-based deities. Some scholars speculate that elements of Liangzhu religious practices influenced later Chinese belief systems, particularly the reverence for jade and the symbolic representation of heaven and earth found in early Chinese thought. Despite its advancements, the Liangzhu civilization came to an abrupt end around 2300 BCE. The reason for its collapse remains uncertain, but evidence suggests that massive floods may have played a significant role. Geological studies indicate that rising sea levels, coupled with intense monsoon rains, could have submerged large portions of the region, making it uninhabitable. The remnants of massive flood deposits found over Liangzhu ruins support this theory, pointing to a catastrophic environmental event that forced the population to abandon their once thriving cities. Another possibility is that internal strife or resource depletion contributed to the decline. As the population grew, increased demand for food and materials may have led to conflicts over land and resources. Additionally, the intricate social hierarchy that had held Liangzhu together might have begun to fracture, weakening the centralized control that allowed for large-scale construction and agricultural management. Whatever the cause, by the time Liangzhu fell, its once great cities were left to decay, their people either perishing in the floods or migrating to other regions where they integrated into emerging cultures. Though Liangzhu disappeared, its legacy endures in the foundations of Chinese civilization. Some of the cultural traits associated with early Chinese dynasties, such as reverence for jade, the importance of centralized authority, and intricate water management systems, may have originated with the Liangzhu people. Their influence can be traced in later societies, particularly the Shang and Zhou dynasties, which inherited and expanded upon many of their technological and cultural advancements. Today, the ruins of Liangzhu stand as a testament to a civilization far ahead of its time. In 2019, the archaeological site was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site, highlighting its importance as one of the earliest known urban centers in East Asia. Excavations continue to uncover new details about this lost civilization, from its intricate water systems to its spiritual practices, slowly piecing together a story that has remained hidden for millennia. Perhaps one day, the full history of Liangzhu will be revealed, shedding light on how this remarkable culture rose to greatness and what ultimately led to its downfall. Until then, the silent ruins and buried artifacts remain as whispers from the past, offering glimpses into a civilization that once flourished in the misty lands of the Yangtze, only to be reclaimed by the waters that had once sustained it. While Liangzhu's intricate jade artifacts and advanced engineering hinted at a sophisticated society, another profound culture was rising in the same land, one that would leave behind massive bronze sculptures, mysterious masks, and evidence of a belief system unlike anything seen before. Deep in the heart of Sichuan province, buried beneath layers of earth, lay the remnants of a civilization unlike any other in ancient China. While dynasties such as the Shang and Zhou are well documented, the Sanxingdui civilization remained hidden, its people and culture erased by time. Then, in the 20th century, an astonishing discovery changed everything. Who were the Sanxingdui people, and what led to their mysterious disappearance? The first clues emerged in 1929, when a local farmer accidentally unearthed a cache of jade relics while digging a well. At the time, few recognized the significance of this find. It wasn't until 1986 that archaeologists uncovered two massive sacrificial pits filled with thousands of artifacts, bronze masks, gold-plated figures, ivory tusks, and jade ornaments, all unlike anything seen before in Chinese history. These discoveries revealed an advanced culture that thrived between 1600 and 1200 BCE, contemporary with the Shang dynasty, but culturally distinct. Sanxingdui was located in the Sichuan Basin, an area of fertile land nourished by the Minjiang River. This region, though geographically isolated by mountains, was rich in natural resources. The civilization's people built sophisticated settlements, including what may have been a vast city covering several square kilometers. Archaeologists believe that Sanxingdui was a major cultural and trade center, possibly connected to other distant civilizations. One of the most striking aspects of the Sanxingdui civilization is its artistry. The people created enormous bronze sculptures, some over 8 feet tall, depicting strange human-like figures with elongated eyes, exaggerated ears, and imposing headdresses. These features are radically different from the artistic style of the Shang dynasty, which dominated central China at the time. The colossal bronze masks, with their wide staring eyes and surreal expressions, suggest an elaborate system of religious beliefs and rituals. But how were these incredible bronze artworks created? The Sanxingdui people employed an advanced form of metallurgy, using a technique known as piece mold casting. Unlike the lost wax method used in many ancient cultures, piece mold casting involved creating a detailed clay mold, carving intricate patterns into it, and then pouring molten bronze inside. Once the metal cooled, the mold was broken away, revealing a finished sculpture. This method allowed artisans to produce highly detailed and large-scale bronze works, far more complex than anything seen elsewhere in China at the time. Many of the bronze masks and statues also feature gold leaf applied to their surfaces. This gold plating process required immense skill, as thin layers of gold had to be hammered and adhered to the bronze, creating a striking contrast between the two metals. The level of craftsmanship suggests a highly organized society with specialized artisans dedicated to metalwork. The mystery deepens when examining the materials used by the Sanxingdui people. Many of their artifacts contain elements such as gold, jade, and ivory, which were not naturally found in the region. This suggests they engaged in long-distance trade, though with whom remains uncertain. The presence of elephant tusks further hints that they had access to regions far south of their settlement. But how was this civilization structured? Since no written records have been found, archaeologists must rely on the remains of their cities and artifacts. The presence of grand ceremonial altars and an abundance of religious symbols suggests that Sanxingdui was ruled by a powerful elite, possibly a theocracy, where priests or divine rulers governed the people. The massive scale of their bronze works implies that skilled artisans worked under a centralized authority, with access to advanced metallurgical techniques unknown elsewhere in China at the time. Religion and ritual played a crucial role in Sanxingdui society. The discovery of sacrificial pits filled with burned artifacts and broken statues suggests complex ceremonial practices, possibly involving offerings to gods or ancestors. Some experts theorize that the oversized masks and figures represent deities or supernatural beings, worshipped in elaborate rituals aimed at ensuring prosperity or protection. Unlike the Shang dynasty, which emphasized ancestor worship, Sanxingdui's religious practices appear to have been uniquely their own. Yet around 1200 BCE, the Sanxingdui civilization mysteriously vanished. Their city was abandoned, their great bronze works left buried in the ground. Why did such a sophisticated culture disappear so suddenly? One theory is environmental disaster. The Minjing River, which sustained Sanxingdui, may have shifted course due to an earthquake or flood, cutting off their water supply and forcing the people to relocate. Supporting this idea, researchers have found geological evidence of seismic activity in the region around the time of their disappearance. If their main water source dried up or moved elsewhere, it could have led to the collapse of their society. Another theory suggests warfare or invasion. Some scholars point to signs of deliberate destruction in the sacrificial pits. Many objects were ritually broken or burned before being buried. While this could indicate religious practices, it might also hint at a violent end, perhaps an attack from rival groups or an internal rebellion. However, no conclusive evidence of large-scale warfare has been found. A third possibility is migration. Some archaeologists believe that the Sanxingdui people did not vanish, but instead moved to a new location. Evidence suggests that a related culture, known as the Vinča civilization, emerged nearby around the same time Sanxingdui declined. Many Vinča artifacts bear a striking resemblance to those found at Sanxingdui, leading some to theorize that the population simply relocated, taking their traditions with them. But how do we know all of this? Without written records, archaeologists rely on scientific methods to piece together the history of Sanxingdui. Radiocarbon dating of charcoal found in the sacrificial pits has helped establish a timeline for the civilization's peak and decline. Advanced imaging techniques, such as 3D scans and chemical analysis, have provided insight into the materials and craftsmanship of their artifacts. Comparisons with other ancient cultures have also helped contextualize Sanxingdui within the broader history of early China. Despite these discoveries, much about Sanxingdui remains unknown. Why did they create such alien-looking statues? What language did they speak? What beliefs drove them to bury thousands of priceless artifacts in sacrificial pits? With ongoing excavations and new technologies, archaeologists hope to uncover more answers in the future. Though the Sanxingdui civilization vanished, its legacy endures. The artistic style of its artifacts influenced later cultures in China, and its advanced bronze working techniques suggest that it played a crucial role in the development of Chinese metallurgy. Today, the Sanxingdui site stands as one of the greatest archaeological mysteries of the ancient world, a lost civilization waiting to reveal its secrets. Perhaps one day we will fully understand who the Sanxingdui people were and what happened to them. Until then, they remain an enigma, their ghostly bronze faces staring out from history, challenging us to uncover the truth hidden beneath the sands of time. The intricate bronze work of Sanxingdui hints at an advanced yet forgotten civilization, its mysteries buried by time. But some secrets aren't just lost, they're hidden beneath the very ground we walk on. Long before modern engineering, before the grand temples of Asia and the towering pyramids of Egypt, there was another architectural marvel, one so enigmatic that even today, experts cannot explain its construction. Hidden beneath the earth, carved into solid sandstone, are the Longyou Caves, a vast underground network of chambers, tunnels, and intricately sculpted walls. Yet, despite their massive scale and precise design, there is no historical record of their creation, who built them, why were they made, and how did an ancient civilization achieve such an engineering feat? The Longyou Caves are located in Zhejiang Province, China, and were discovered in 1992 when a local villager drained what was believed to be a natural pond. To his astonishment, the water revealed a meticulously carved chamber beneath, an entrance to a labyrinth of caves that had remained hidden for thousands of years. Soon after, 24 more caves were found in the area, each featuring walls, columns, and ceilings, sculpted with near-perfect symmetry. What makes the Longyou Caves extraordinary is their sheer size and precision. Each cave covers thousands of square meters, with some extending up to 30 meters, 98 feet in height. The walls and ceilings bear uniform chisel marks, as if the entire structure was carved using the same technique across all the caves. The precision suggests a level of craftsmanship far beyond what was previously thought possible for an ancient civilization. More baffling still, the caves have remained structurally sound for over 2,000 years, showing no signs of collapse or natural erosion, despite their location in soft sandstone. Determining the exact time of their construction remains one of the greatest challenges in unraveling the mystery of the Longyou Caves. Based on limited evidence, many scholars believe they were created during the Qin dynasty, 221, 206 BCE, or even earlier, possibly during the Warring States period, 475, 221 BCE. If this is correct, it means the caves were built over 2,000 years ago, during a time of political turmoil and rapid advancements in engineering. However, some theories suggest they could be even older, potentially dating back to the Eastern Zhou dynasty, 770, 256 BCE, or beyond. If the caves were carved in the Warring States period, China was in a state of near-constant conflict, with various states vying for dominance. This was also a time of significant technological advancements, particularly in metallurgy and construction techniques. However, no records from this era mention such a project, which is unusual given the extensive historical documentation from this period. If they were built during the Qin dynasty, it was a time of great architectural ambition, including the construction of the First Great Wall of China and the Terracotta Army. But even in this context, the Longyou Caves remain an anomaly. Yet, there are no historical records, inscriptions, or artifacts that provide clues about who built the Longyou Caves. In China's extensive written history, spanning millennia, there is no mention of their construction, purpose, or even existence. This absence of documentation has left scholars perplexed. Were the caves meant to be tombs, temples, or storage chambers? Or did they serve an entirely different, now forgotten function? One theory suggests that the caves were used for an unknown religious or ceremonial purpose. The uniform carvings, intricate designs, and massive effort required to construct them imply that they held deep significance for their builders. Some believe the caves may have been underground temples, places of worship dedicated to deities or spiritual practices lost to time. Others propose that they could have been designed as hidden sanctuaries, shielding an elite group from war or natural disasters. Another possibility is that the caves were used for military purposes. The sheer size and secrecy of their construction raised the possibility that they functioned as underground fortresses or storage facilities. However, the lack of defensive structures, weapons, or military artifacts casts doubt on this theory. If they were intended as safe havens, why were they eventually abandoned, and why is there no historical record of their strategic use? Some researchers have proposed a more practical explanation. Perhaps the Longyou Caves were used as water reservoirs. This idea is supported by the fact that the caves were filled with water before their discovery, and ancient Chinese civilizations were known for their sophisticated irrigation techniques. However, this does not explain the immense detail and effort put into their construction. If they were mere reservoirs, why invest so much in aesthetics and precision? Adding to the mystery is the sheer volume of stone that must have been removed to carve out the caves. Researchers estimate that over 1 million cubic meters of sandstone would have been extracted. Yet, there is no evidence of where this removed material was placed. No piles of debris, no signs of transportation, no nearby sites containing the remnants of excavation. In ancient construction, large-scale projects often left behind clear traces of their work, but the Longyou Caves present a strange anomaly, a monumental effort with no physical evidence of the process. Even more puzzling is the absence of soot or torch marks. Given that these caves were carved deep underground, artificial lighting would have been necessary for the workers. In other ancient underground structures, remnants of soot from torches or oil lamps are commonly found. However, in the Longyou Caves, there is no trace of any such residue. This has led to speculation that the builders used a yet unknown lighting method, one that left no detectable remains. So who built the Longyou Caves? One theory suggests that they were created by an unknown ancient Chinese civilization, one that had advanced knowledge of engineering and architecture far ahead of its time. However, without historical records, this remains speculation. Another more controversial idea is that the caves were not built by humans at all, but by an unknown, possibly non-human intelligence. While this idea ventures into the realm of pseudoscience, it highlights the sheer mystery surrounding the caves. How could an ancient society accomplish such a feat without leaving any trace of their identity? If the caves were built by an ancient civilization, what happened to them? Some scholars believe that the civilization may have vanished due to natural disasters, war, or assimilation into other cultures. If their knowledge and skills were lost over time, it could explain why no later records mention the caves or their builders. Others suggest that the caves were deliberately abandoned and erased from history, perhaps due to a catastrophic event or a decision to keep their existence secret. Despite decades of research, the purpose, origin, and construction methods of the Longyou Caves remain unknown. Archaeologists, engineers, and historians continue to study them, yet answers remain elusive. The caves stand as a testament to an ancient mystery, one carved in stone, hidden in the depths of the earth, waiting for someone to unlock its secrets. What knowledge did the builders possess? What drove them to undertake such a massive project? And what other secrets lie buried beneath the ground, waiting to be discovered? The Longyou Caves stand as a silent mystery, their creators and purpose lost to history. Yet, across the world, another ancient civilization left behind structures just as strange, carved not beneath the earth, but into towering cliffs. In the arid, windswept landscapes of the American Southwest, a civilization once flourished, leaving behind breathtaking stone cities, intricate roadways, and mysterious ruins that continue to puzzle archaeologists. The Ancestral Pueblos, an ancient people who inhabited the Four Corners region where modern-day Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, and Colorado meet, built a thriving society that lasted for centuries before seemingly vanishing. Their disappearance remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of North American history. Who were these people? How did they build such advanced settlements in the unforgiving desert? And why did they leave, abandoning the grand cities they had constructed? The Ancestral Pueblos, often referred to as the Anasazi, a Navajo word meaning ancient enemies or ancient ones, were a sophisticated civilization that emerged around 200 AD and reached its height between 900 and 1300 AD. They were master builders, adapting to their harsh desert environment with ingenuity. Their most famous settlements, such as Chaco Canyon in New Mexico and Mesa Verde in Colorado, are stunning feats of architecture. Massive stone structures known as great houses rose from the earth, some containing hundreds of rooms. Many were positioned in alignment with celestial events, indicating a deep understanding of astronomy. The great houses of Chaco Canyon, in particular, stand as marvels of ancient engineering. Constructed from sandstone blocks and timber hauled from miles away, these structures were built with precision and foresight. Pueblo Bonito, the largest of these, contained over 600 rooms and spanned multiple stories, making it one of the most impressive prehistoric structures in North America. The walls of these great houses were often plastered and painted, showcasing the artistic sensibilities of the people who lived within them. These buildings were not merely homes, they served as cultural and administrative centers, places where trade, governance, and ceremonies were conducted. The labor and resources required to build these structures suggest a highly organized society capable of mobilizing large workforces over extended periods. Despite the challenges of their environment, the Ancestral Pueblos thrived, using innovative farming techniques to sustain their growing population. They built elaborate irrigation systems to channel scarce water to their crops, primarily maize, beans, and squash. These were supplemented by foraging for wild plants and hunting animals such as deer and rabbits. In addition to their agricultural prowess, they were skilled artisans, crafting exquisite pottery, textiles, and jewelry. Their pottery, often decorated with intricate geometric patterns, reveals glimpses of their artistic expression and possibly even their spiritual beliefs. Their society was complex, likely organized into clans or kinship groups, with leadership roles that may have been based on religious authority rather than strict political rule. Evidence suggests that religious leaders, possibly shamans, held significant influence, guiding their communities through ceremonial rituals conducted in underground circular chambers called kives. These kives, found in nearly every major settlement, were sacred spaces where the Ancestral Pueblos conducted ceremonies, discussed communal matters, and likely passed down oral traditions. One of the most mysterious aspects of Ancestral Pueblo society is their apparent fascination with the cosmos. Many of their great houses and ceremonial structures are aligned with solstices and lunar cycles. The sun dagger, a rock carving at Chaco Canyon, demonstrates their ability to track the movements of the sun with incredible precision. This alignment with celestial events suggests that astronomy played a crucial role in their spiritual beliefs and agricultural cycles. The movements of the sun, moon, and stars were likely seen as divine forces that influenced daily life, guiding when to plant and harvest crops, when to hold ceremonies, and even when to migrate. For the ancestral Puebloans, celestial observation was deeply intertwined with their spiritual world. The night sky may have been viewed as a living entity, with the gods and spirits communicating through the movements of the stars. Their intricate understanding of astronomy was not merely scientific, but also religious, forming a bridge between the earthly and the divine. Caves, the sacred underground chambers, were often designed with openings that allowed beams of sunlight to enter in precise alignments on key dates, such as solstices and equinoxes, reinforcing the connection between their rituals and celestial movements. This interplay between architecture, astronomy, and spirituality underscores the complexity of their belief system. Trade was another pillar of their civilization. The ancestral Puebloans were part of a vast trade network, stretching as far as present-day Mexico, acquiring items such as macaw feathers, copper bells, and even cacao. In return, they traded turquoise, a valuable mineral abundant in the region, which they used to craft beads and ceremonial objects. This extensive trade network reveals their connections to other Mesoamerican cultures and highlights the complexity of their economic system. Yet, despite their ingenuity, the ancestral Puebloans mysteriously abandoned many of their great settlements by the late 13th century. The grand cities of Chaco Canyon and Mesa Verde were left empty, their towering walls and ceremonial plazas deserted. The question of why they left has puzzled researchers for decades, and while no single answer has been definitively proven, several theories have emerged. One widely accepted theory points to climate change. Tree ring data suggests that the Southwest experienced a prolonged and devastating drought between 1276 and 1299, making agriculture nearly impossible. Without enough food and water, communities would have been forced to relocate to more hospitable regions. Another possibility is resource depletion. Centuries of farming and construction may have overstrained the environment, leading to soil erosion, deforestation, and unsustainable living conditions. Conflict may have also played a role. Archaeological evidence of burned structures, skeletal remains bearing signs of violence, and fortified dwellings built into cliffs suggest that warfare or internal strife could have contributed to their decline. Whether these conflicts were caused by competition for dwindling resources, external threats, or social upheaval remains uncertain. Religious or cultural shifts may have influenced their departure as well. Some researchers believe that a spiritual crisis, perhaps triggered by environmental struggles or social discord, led the ancestral Puebloans to seek new lands where they could rebuild their society. Oral histories from modern Puebloan tribes, who are believed to be descendants of the ancestral Puebloans, describe a great migration, reinforcing the idea that they did not vanish, but rather moved and integrated into other communities. The legacy of the ancestral Puebloans lives on in the modern Pueblo peoples of the Southwest, such as the Hopi, Zuni, and Rio Grande Puebloans. These tribes maintain traditions, stories, and cultural practices that connect them to their ancient ancestors. They continue to honor the land, practice agriculture in traditional ways, and hold ceremonies that echo the rituals once conducted in the Grand Caves of Chaco Canyon. Today, the ruins of the ancestral Puebloans stand as a testament to their ingenuity and resilience. The towering cliff dwellings of Mesa Verde, the sprawling ruins of Chaco Canyon, and the lesser-known sites scattered throughout the Southwest continue to captivate archaeologists and visitors alike. Their story is one of adaptation, survival, and mystery, a civilization that once flourished in one of the most challenging environments on Earth, only to leave behind remnants of a past that still whispers through the desert winds. Perhaps one day, new discoveries will shed more light on their fate. Until then, the ruins of the ancestral Puebloans remain as silent sentinels, guarding the secrets of a people whose mark on history is as enduring as the stone cities they left behind. As the Puebloans left behind their cliffside dwellings, another civilization was thriving in the heart of North America, a city of towering mounds and complex societies that would become the largest pre-Columbian settlement north of Mexico. There was once a thriving metropolis in the heart of what is now the United States. This was Cahokia, an ancient city that sat along the Mississippi River in present-day Illinois. Its inhabitants built monumental earthworks, developed complex social systems, and mysteriously vanished, leaving behind only fragments of their story. Today, Cahokia stands as one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of North America. To understand Cahokia, you first have to imagine the land as it once was. The Mississippi River was not just a winding waterway, it was the lifeblood of the continent. The riverbanks were lush and fertile, perfect for supporting agriculture. Dense forests teemed with deer and other game. The air buzzed with insects, birds, and the occasional howl of a distant wolf. It was a place of abundance, and the people who settled there learned how to harness its gifts. Cahokia itself began as a modest settlement sometime around 600 AD, but by 1050 it had grown into a sprawling urban hub. At its height, an estimated 20,000 people called it home, making it the largest pre-Columbian city north of Mexico. The heart of the city was dominated by enormous earthen mounds, artificial hills carefully sculpted from layers of soil, clay, and stone. The most famous of these is Monk's Mound, a towering structure that rises nearly 100 feet high and covers over 14 acres at its base. It remains the largest earthwork in the Americas. Unlike many other Native American cities, Cahokia's size and complexity set it apart. While other tribes often lived in smaller, decentralized villages, Cahokia was a true metropolis with a carefully planned layout, monumental architecture, and an extensive trade network that connected distant regions. Its social structure was more rigidly hierarchical, with a powerful ruling elite that held both political and religious authority. This concentration of power, along with the scale of its urban design, made Cahokia unique in pre-Columbian North America. The people who built Cahokia were part of what archaeologists now call the Mississippian culture, a network of societies spread across the southeastern United States. They shared common symbols, religious practices, and artistic styles. The Mississippians were skilled farmers, growing maize as their primary crop, supplemented by squash, beans, and sunflowers. Their pottery was highly detailed, often decorated with intricate designs that reflected spiritual beliefs. Cahokia's layout was not random, it was carefully planned. At its core lay a massive plaza surrounded by key structures, including Monk's Mound. To the north and south were wooden palisades that protected the city from potential threats. The settlement stretched outwards into smaller neighborhoods, with homes made from thatch and clay, often positioned to maximize sunlight and warmth during colder months. Cahokia's social structure was deeply hierarchical, with power concentrated among a ruling elite believed to have had both political and spiritual authority. At the top of this hierarchy was the Great Sun, a powerful chief who likely resided atop Monk's Mound. This leader was seen as both a ruler and a divine figure, playing a crucial role in the city's religious ceremonies and decision-making processes. Below the Great Sun was a class of nobles, priests, and warriors who enforced the chief's will and ensured the stability of the community. This elite class enjoyed privileges such as better food, elaborate clothing, and homes built closer to the city's ceremonial center. Commoners formed the bulk of Cahokia's population, living in modest dwellings on the outskirts of the city and contributing through farming, craftsmanship, and trade. Some individuals held specialized roles, such as artisans skilled in pottery, stonework, or copper crafting. This well-defined social order helped Cahokia thrive as a powerful and organized society. One of the most striking features of Cahokia is a series of mysterious wooden posts known as woodhenge. These circular arrangements of tall timbers served as solar calendars, marking the position of the rising sun during solstices and equinoxes. Archaeologists believe this observatory played a central role in the community's spiritual and agricultural cycles. The presence of such advanced astronomy suggests the people of Cahokia had a deep understanding of the cosmos. Trade flourished in Cahokia. Artifacts found at the site include copper from the Great Lakes, mica from the Appalachian Mountains, and seashells from the Gulf Coast. This trade network connected Cahokia to distant regions, making it a central hub for cultural exchange. The city's influence stretched for hundreds of miles, with satellite villages emerging throughout the Midwest and South. Despite its apparent success, Cahokia's downfall came swiftly. By the late 1300s, the city had largely been abandoned. Theories about its decline vary. Some suggest environmental pressures played a role. Deforestation may have stripped the surrounding land of key resources, and overhunting could have damaged the local ecosystem. Flooding from the Mississippi River may have devastated crops. Others believe social unrest or warfare drove people away. Still others point to a prolonged drought, which would have decimated food supplies and destabilized the city's power structure. Adding to the mystery is the presence of mass graves discovered at Cahokia. Some burial sites contain dozens of bodies, many of them showing signs of violent death. Archaeologists speculate these may have been victims of ritual sacrifices, suggesting Cahokia's spiritual practices may have been far more complex and potentially darker than previously believed. The presence of elite burials, where individuals were interred with jewelry, tools, and even other human remains, hints at a deeply stratified society where power was concentrated among a ruling class. Today, the site of Cahokia remains a haunting reminder of this once great city. The sprawling mounds, now covered in grass, seem quiet and still, yet they hold echoes of a vibrant civilization that thrived for centuries. The descendants of the Mississippian culture still exist today, and many Native American tribes trace their lineage to these ancient builders. The question remains, what happened to Cahokia? Did environmental collapse drive its people away? Was it internal conflict, disease, or something more mysterious? Despite years of excavation, the answer continues to elude archaeologists. Cahokia's decline is a puzzle made all the more intriguing by what was left behind, a city once bustling with life, now silent and forgotten. What remains clear is that Cahokia was far more advanced than many once believed. Its towering mounds, astronomical observatories, and extensive trade routes paint a picture of a sophisticated and powerful society. And yet, for reasons we may never fully understand, it vanished, leaving behind only fragments of its story and the enduring mystery of what lies buried beneath the earth. As Cahokia declined, leaving behind its towering mounds, another ancient civilization lay in ruins halfway across the world. For thousands of years, the Indus Valley Civilization lay buried beneath layers of earth and time, forgotten by history. It was one of the greatest civilizations of the ancient world, flourishing alongside Egypt and Mesopotamia. Yet today, little is known about the people who built its cities, walked its streets, and mysteriously vanished. The first clues emerged in the 19th century, when British engineers, laying railway tracks in colonial India, stumbled upon strange fire-baked bricks. They used these bricks as ballast, unaware they were destroying the remains of an ancient civilization. It wasn't until the 1920s that archaeologists realized they had uncovered something remarkable: the lost cities of Harpa and Mohenjo-Daro. Dating back to around 3300 BCE, the Indus Valley Civilization stretched across what is now Pakistan, northwest India, and parts of Afghanistan. It was vast, covering over 1 million square kilometers, making it one of the largest early civilizations. The landscape was dominated by the Indus River, which nourished their fields, supported trade, and provided life to their settlements. Unlike the deserts of Egypt or the dry plains of Mesopotamia, the Indus region was fertile, fed by rivers and seasonal monsoons. It was a land of prosperity, and its people were among the most advanced of their time. One of the most astonishing features of the Indus Valley Civilization was its urban planning. The cities were meticulously designed, with streets laid out in a perfect grid pattern. Houses were made of uniform bricks, suggesting a highly organized society with standardized construction techniques. Even more impressive was their sanitation system, a network of covered drains, indoor plumbing, and public baths. In a world where open sewers were the norm, the Indus people had developed a level of hygiene that wouldn't be matched until modern times. But how do we know all of this? Archaeologists have pieced together the details of their society through extensive excavations and analysis of artifacts. The ruins of Harpa and Mohenjo-Daro revealed not just buildings, but everyday objects, pottery, tools, ornaments, and even children's toys, offering insights into their way of life. By studying burial sites, archaeologists have also been able to determine aspects of their diet and health. Analysis of skeletal remains suggests that the Indus people were generally healthy and well-nourished, relying on a diet that included wheat, barley, lentils, and a variety of fruits and vegetables. Their teeth show little evidence of decay, suggesting a relatively low-sugar diet compared to later civilizations. Despite their architectural brilliance, their writing system remains a mystery. The Indus script, found on thousands of seals and pottery fragments, consists of symbols, some resembling animals, others geometric shapes. No one has been able to decipher it. Unlike Egyptian hieroglyphs, which were cracked with the Rosetta Stone, the Indus script offers no bilingual texts to aid translation. However, researchers have used statistical analysis to study the frequency of symbols and their possible meanings, leading to theories that the script may have been used for trade, governance, or religious purposes. But without a definitive translation, the meaning of their messages remains locked away, an enigma buried in time. What kind of society built these cities? Unlike the kingdoms of Mesopotamia and Egypt, there is no evidence of kings or ruling elites in the Indus Valley Civilization. No grand palaces, no giant statues of rulers, no war monuments. Instead, their cities suggest a more egalitarian society, where power may have been decentralized, perhaps managed by merchants and local leaders, rather than a single monarch. The uniformity of their city layouts and construction materials suggests some level of central planning, but whether this was led by a council, priests, or a ruling class remains unknown. But what of their religion? Here too, the mystery deepens. There are no grand temples like those of Mesopotamia or Egypt, but artifacts suggest they worshipped nature and possibly a mother goddess linked to fertility. Some seals depict a figure resembling the later Hindu god Shiva, seated in a meditative posture, surrounded by animals, leading some scholars to believe this civilization influenced Hinduism. Others show sacred animals like bulls, which may have held spiritual significance. However, without a deciphered script, much of their beliefs remain speculation. Excavations have uncovered fire altars and ritual bathing areas, suggesting some form of ceremonial or religious practices. Their economy was equally sophisticated. They were skilled traders, exchanging goods with Mesopotamia, Iran, and even Central Asia. Archaeologists have found Indus Valley artifacts as far away as the Persian Gulf, evidence of a vast trade network. Seals with Indus script have been found in Mesopotamian ruins, hinting at commercial connections. They crafted intricate jewelry, made fine pottery, and worked with copper, bronze, and even early forms of steel. Their weights and measures were precise, suggesting an advanced economic system that relied on standardization and record-keeping. Yet for all their achievements, their decline came suddenly. Around 1900 BCE, their great cities began to be abandoned. Streets once filled with merchants and artisans fell silent. The well-planned drainage systems became clogged with debris. Within a few centuries, the Indus Valley Civilization had all but disappeared. Why? There is no single answer, only theories. Some believe climate change played a role. Changing monsoon patterns may have dried up the rivers that sustained them. Others suggest earthquakes or floods disrupted their way of life. Some point to invasion, possibly by Indo-Aryan tribes migrating from Central Asia. Yet, no large-scale battles or mass destruction have been found in the ruins. Instead, their cities seem to have been abandoned gradually, not violently. One of the most haunting discoveries at Mohenjo-Daro was a collection of skeletons, lying in the streets as if death had come suddenly. Some early archaeologists theorized these were victims of an ancient massacre, their bones carrying traces of violence. Others proposed a more chilling idea, that the civilization fell to disease, perhaps an early plague that wiped out entire populations. But the strangest mystery is what followed. Unlike Egypt or Mesopotamia, where new rulers took over old cities, the Indus Valley Civilization simply vanished. Their writing disappeared. Their cities were never reoccupied on the same scale. The knowledge of their advanced engineering, trade, and governance was seemingly lost. Even in Indian historical records, they are barely mentioned. It is as if time erased them completely. Though their legacy remains in modern South Asia, some elements of Hindu culture, city planning, and even water management may trace back to them. The people who once ruled the Indus are now ghosts in history. The ruins of their cities still whisper secrets, waiting to be fully understood. Perhaps one day, we will decipher their script and unlock their final mysteries. Until then, the Indus Valley Civilization remains one of history's greatest enigmas, a lost world, hidden beneath the dust of time, waiting to be rediscovered. As the Indus Valley Civilization declined, another society far away was rising, one that would shape the future of Mesoamerica with its monumental art, complex beliefs, and enduring influence. For centuries, the Olmec Civilization remained hidden beneath the jungles of southern Mexico, their cities swallowed by time, their people long forgotten. Yet long before the Aztecs and Maya, the Olmecs laid the foundation for Mesoamerican culture. They were the first great civilization of the region, shaping the beliefs, traditions, and societies that followed. But who were they, and why did they disappear? The first clues emerged in the 19th century, when farmers in the Mexican state of Veracruz uncovered massive stone heads buried beneath the earth. These heads, some weighing over 20 tons, bore distinct features: broad noses, full lips, and detailed headdresses. They were unlike anything seen before. Initially, their origin remained a mystery. However, in the 1940s, archaeologists uncovered the remains of a lost civilization, the Olmecs. The Olmec Civilization thrived between 1500 BCE and 400 BCE, making them one of the earliest complex societies in the Americas. They occupied the tropical lowlands along the Gulf of Mexico, in present-day Veracruz and Tabasco. This region, despite its thick jungles and swampy terrain, was rich in resources. Rivers provided transportation, fertile soil allowed for agriculture, and nearby mountains yielded valuable stone for construction. One of their greatest achievements was their city building. Though few structures remain intact, archaeologists have uncovered the ruins of major Olmec centers like San Lorenzo, La Venta, and Tres Zapotes. These were not mere villages. They were sophisticated urban centers with ceremonial plazas, pyramids, and drainage systems. San Lorenzo, the oldest known Olmec city, was constructed on an artificially raised plateau, demonstrating their advanced engineering skills. Yet for all their architectural prowess, the Olmecs left behind few written records. Unlike the Maya, who developed a complex writing system, Olmec script remains undeciphered. Archaeologists have found symbols carved into stone, suggesting an early form of writing, but without a key to translate it. Their language remains a mystery. Instead, much of what we know about them comes from their art, artifacts, and the cultures they influenced. One of the most striking aspects of Olmec culture is their colossal stone heads. Ranging from 4 to 11 feet tall, these heads depict powerful individuals, possibly rulers or warriors. Each one is unique, with distinct facial features and elaborate headdresses, suggesting a society with a strong hierarchical structure. The sheer effort required to carve and transport these massive stones, often from quarries dozens of miles away, indicates a centralized authority capable of organizing large labor forces. But how were these colossal heads created? The stones used for the heads came from the Sierra de los Tuxtlas, a mountain range about 50 miles from the Olmec heartland. This means that the Olmecs had to extract massive basalt boulders from volcanic deposits and then transport them across challenging terrain. Since the Olmecs had no metal tools, archaeologists believe they used stone hammers to chip away the rough shape of the heads. Once the general form was complete, finer details were carved, possibly using tools made of harder stone like jade or obsidian. Transporting the heads was another incredible feat. Without wheeled carts or beasts of burden, the Olmecs likely used wooden rollers, rafts, and human labor to move these massive stones. Some theories suggest they built temporary roads or cleared paths through the jungle to facilitate transportation. The presence of river networks near major Olmec sites suggests they may have used rafts to float the stones part of the way before hauling them onto land and maneuvering them into position. But how was Olmec society structured? Though we have no written records, evidence suggests they had a ruling elite that controlled both religion and politics. Their cities contained large ceremonial centers, implying the presence of powerful priests or kings. The Olmecs were also skilled artisans, crafting intricate jade figurines, pottery, and ceremonial axes, likely used by the elite class. Meanwhile, farmers, fishermen, and traders formed the backbone of their economy. Religion played a central role in Olmec life. They were deeply spiritual, worshipping a pantheon of gods linked to nature. The most prominent of these deities was the Olmec wer-jaguar, a supernatural being with both human and feline traits, symbolizing power and transformation. Jaguars were sacred animals, often appearing in Olmec art, possibly representing a shamanic connection between the human and spirit world. Other Olmec religious symbols, such as the maize god and the feathered serpent, would later appear in Maya and Aztec mythology, suggesting the Olmecs influenced later Mesoamerican beliefs. Rituals likely included bloodletting and possibly even human sacrifice, though direct evidence remains scarce. What is clear is that the Olmecs built massive ceremonial centers, aligning their structures with celestial patterns, showing an advanced understanding of astronomy. Trade was another key to their success. The Olmecs exchanged goods with distant cultures, spreading their influence across Mesoamerica. They traded jade, obsidian, rubber, and pottery, establishing a network that connected them with regions as far away as modern-day Guatemala and the Valley of Mexico. This extensive trade helped spread Olmec artistic and religious ideas, laying the groundwork for later civilizations. But despite their achievements, the Olmecs mysteriously declined around 400 BCE. Their great cities were abandoned. Their influence faded. Why? There is no definitive answer, only theories. Some scholars believe environmental changes played a role. The Olmecs relied heavily on river systems, and shifts in climate or catastrophic flooding may have devastated their agricultural lands. Others point to volcanic activity. Evidence suggests that eruptions could have forced populations to flee their cities. Another possibility is internal conflict. As power shifted between Olmec centers, political struggles may have weakened the civilization from within. The discovery of mutilated statues and defaced monuments in San Lorenzo suggests that some rulers were violently overthrown. Perhaps their once unified society fractured, leading to its eventual collapse. But how do we know all of this? If the Olmecs left no written records, how were archaeologists able to uncover so much about their civilization? Much of what we understand about the Olmecs comes from extensive excavations and analysis of their artifacts. Archaeologists have pieced together their history by studying their massive stone sculptures, pottery, and tools. Scientific techniques like radiocarbon dating have helped determine the age of Olmec sites, while isotopic analysis of bones has provided insight into their diet and health. Additionally, scholars have compared Olmec artifacts with those of later Mesoamerican civilizations, identifying patterns that suggest the Olmecs were the cultural predecessors of the Maya and Aztecs. The widespread presence of Olmec-style art and religious symbols in later societies indicates that their influence persisted long after their cities were abandoned. Unlike the Maya or Aztecs, who left behind written records and monumental cities, the Olmecs faded into obscurity. Yet, their legacy endured. Their artistic style, religious icons, and even their ball game, a ritual sport played with a rubber ball, were adopted by later Mesoamerican cultures. In many ways, they were the mother civilization of the region, their innovations shaping the civilizations that followed. Today the Olmecs remain an enigma. Their massive stone heads, their undeciphered symbols, their vanished cities, all hint at a civilization both powerful and mysterious. Archaeologists continue to unearth new clues, but much about them remains unknown. Perhaps one day, we will unlock their secrets, discovering who these ancient people truly were. Until then, the Olmecs remain a shadowy presence in history, a lost civilization, hidden beneath the jungles of time, waiting to be rediscovered. As the great stone heads of this ancient civilization stood the test of time, a different culture flourished, one known for its vast trade networks, exotic goods, and mysterious connections to the pharaohs of Egypt. Long ago, the ancient Egyptians spoke of a land rich in gold, incense, ebony, and exotic animals, a mysterious and prosperous kingdom known as Punt. It was a place of wonder, depicted in vivid reliefs on the walls of Egyptian temples, yet no one today can say with certainty where it was. Unlike other civilizations that left behind sprawling ruins, Punt vanished from history, leaving only clues in the writings and artwork of those who once traded with it. How could a land so vital to one of history's greatest civilizations disappear without a trace? Was it a kingdom on the shores of the Red Sea, a lush African paradise, or something even more elusive? What became of the land that was once Egypt's gateway to wealth? The land of Punt was first referenced in Egyptian texts as early as the 25th century BCE, during the reign of Pharaoh Seshur of the 5th dynasty. It was not merely a trading partner, but a land held in high regard, often called the land of the gods by the Egyptians. This designation suggests that Punt was seen as a sacred or mythological place, but the wealth of goods brought back from it proves that it was very real. The location of Punt has long been debated. Ancient Egyptian inscriptions describe it as being to the south and east of Egypt, accessible by both land and sea. Some scholars believe it was in present-day Eritrea or Somalia, while others place it farther inland, in Ethiopia or Sudan. A few theories suggest it may have been in the Arabian Peninsula, but the majority of evidence points to the Horn of Africa. If Punt was a vast region rather than a single city or kingdom, its people may have been traders who moved between coastal settlements and inland territories, further complicating efforts to pinpoint its exact location. Trade was the lifeblood of Punt. It provided Egypt with goods that could not be found anywhere else: gold, aromatic resins like myrrh and frankincense, rare woods, ivory, and exotic animals, such as baboons and giraffes. The most famous recorded expedition to Punt occurred during the reign of Queen Hatshepsut in the 15th century BCE. Depictions of this journey, carved into the walls of her mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahari, show Egyptian ships laden with treasures from Punt, including entire trees uprooted and transported back to Egypt. This expedition was a grand diplomatic and commercial success, reinforcing Egypt's connection to its most coveted trading partner. Myrrh and frankincense were not merely trade goods. They were sacred substances used in temple rituals, religious offerings, and the embalming process. The resins burned in Egyptian temples created fragrant smoke believed to carry prayers to the gods. This could explain why Punt was seen as a land of the gods, revered not just for its wealth but for its spiritual significance. Without Punt, Egypt's religious and funerary practices might have been drastically different. Little is known about the people of Punt themselves. Egyptian records describe them as having dark skin, long hair, and a distinct way of dressing. They lived in large beehive-shaped houses elevated on stilts, suggesting they inhabited marshy or coastal areas. The artwork from Hatshepsut's temple even includes an image of Punt's queen, who appears notably different from other figures, perhaps indicating a unique beauty standard or a hereditary condition. These depictions are among the only visual records of the Puntites, leaving historians to speculate about their society, language, and daily lives. Social hierarchy in Punt remains a mystery, as no native texts have been found. However, the presence of a named queen and her husband in Egyptian records suggests a form of monarchy or centralized leadership. The wealth of the land implies a society organized around trade, possibly with a ruling class that controlled the flow of goods. Punt's relationship with Egypt seems to have been largely peaceful, built on mutual economic benefit rather than conquest. Religion may have played a significant role in Punt's importance to Egypt. Some Egyptian texts describe it as a divine land, possibly because of the sacred resins harvested there. Myrrh and frankincense were essential for temple rituals, embalming, and offerings to the gods. The Egyptians revered Punt not just as a place of commerce, but as a spiritual center, a land blessed by the deities. But what happened to Punt? Why did it disappear from history? Several theories attempt to explain its decline. One possibility is environmental change. If Punt's wealth came from its natural resources, a shift in climate, such as prolonged drought, desertification, or changes in sea levels, could have devastated its ability to produce and export goods. Deforestation from excessive harvesting of incense trees might have further crippled its economy. Another theory is political instability. Punt may have been a confederation of smaller states rather than a single kingdom, meaning that internal conflicts or invasions could have fragmented it beyond recognition. The rise of competing trade routes could also have weakened its influence. As Egypt's power waned in later centuries, its focus may have shifted to other trade partners, leading to Punt's gradual decline. There is also the possibility that Punt never fully disappeared, but rather transformed into later African civilizations. Some scholars suggest that the kingdom of Aksum, which rose to prominence in modern-day Ethiopia and Eritrea, could be linked to Punt. Aksum became a major trading power centuries later, dealing in many of the same goods Punt was known for. Could Punt have been absorbed into a larger regional power, its name simply fading with time? Despite centuries of searching, no definitive archaeological evidence of Punt has been found. Unlike Egypt, which built grand stone temples and left behind written records, Punt's structures may have been made of wood or other perishable materials, leaving little trace. Its exact location remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the ancient world. If Punt had a nomadic or decentralized civilization, its settlements may have been temporary, making it even harder to find evidence of their existence. The lack of ruins, inscriptions, or artifacts raises an unsettling question. How can a place so vital to one of the greatest civilizations of antiquity leave behind nothing tangible? Could it be that Punt was not a single location, but a network of trading outposts? Or did it fall so completely that time erased its memory from everything except Egyptian records? The story of Punt is more than just a historical enigma. It is a testament to the complexity and reach of ancient civilizations. It challenges the notion that great societies only left behind stone monuments, reminding us that entire cultures can vanish, leaving only whispers in the records of others. Somewhere beneath layers of earth or hidden within the jungles of Africa, the remnants of Punt may still wait to be discovered. And when they are, they could rewrite everything we know about the world of the pharaohs and their most fabled trading partner. While the Puntites thrived through trade, another ancient culture in Europe was developing one of the earliest known writing systems. Long before the rise of the Egyptian pyramids, the temples of Mesopotamia, or the grand cities of Greece, there was another civilization, a people whose culture flourished for thousands of years, leaving behind mysterious symbols, intricate figurines, and the remains of vast settlements. Yet today, they are almost entirely forgotten. They were the Vinča civilization, an ancient European society that existed over 7,000 years ago, and their legacy raises more questions than answers. The Vinča people lived in what is now modern-day Serbia, Romania, Bulgaria, and parts of Hungary, forming one of the earliest known cultures in Europe. Existing between 5,700 and 4,500 BCE, they thrived along the banks of the Danube River, building settlements that were astonishingly advanced for their time. Their towns were carefully planned, with houses constructed in rows, featuring multi-room designs, wooden floors, and even signs of early heating systems. This level of organization was unprecedented in Neolithic Europe. But what made the Vinča truly extraordinary was their impossible writing system, one that predates even the Sumerian script, traditionally considered the world's first written language. Archaeologists have uncovered thousands of small clay tablets, ceramics, and artifacts etched with a series of strange, repeated symbols. Known as the Vinča symbols, these markings have baffled researchers for decades. Were they a form of early writing, a sacred language, a complex system of trade? If these symbols represent a true script, then the Vinča people may have been the first to develop writing, rewriting the history of human communication. Their economy was equally advanced. The Vinča were among the first to engage in metallurgy, producing copper tools and ornaments long before other cultures in Europe. This suggests they had a deep understanding of mining and metalworking, skills that were typically associated with more advanced, Bronze Age societies that emerged thousands of years later. They also excelled in pottery, crafting beautifully decorated ceramics and figurines that depicted both humans and animals, often with exaggerated features that remain a mystery to scholars. Some theorists speculate that these figurines represent deities, ancestors, or even beings from mythology. Unlike many later civilizations, the Vinča appear to have been largely peaceful. There is little evidence of fortifications, weaponry, or widespread violence within their settlements. Some researchers suggest that their society was egalitarian, meaning that wealth and power were more evenly distributed among the people. Others believe that the prominence of female figurines in their art hints at a matriarchal or goddess-worshipping culture, though this remains speculative. The structure of Vinča society is difficult to reconstruct with certainty, but evidence suggests a community-driven civilization rather than one ruled by a powerful elite or monarchy. Their settlements were relatively uniform in size and design, implying that no single individual or group held disproportionate wealth or power. However, this does not mean that leadership was absent. There may have been respected elders, religious figures, or councils who guided decision-making, particularly concerning trade, resource management, and spiritual practices. Common people in Vinča society likely lived in modest but well-built homes, engaging in agriculture, pottery making, and tool production. Life revolved around farming and craftsmanship, with an emphasis on communal living. Families may have shared responsibilities, working together to maintain their settlements and ensure the survival of their people. The presence of large communal buildings in some Vinča sites suggests that public gatherings, rituals, or economic activities played a central role in their daily lives. However, despite their achievements, the Vinča civilization mysteriously vanished around 4500 BCE. The reasons for their decline remain unknown. Some theories suggest that climate change disrupted their agricultural practices, while others point to the arrival of Indo-European tribes, who may have gradually assimilated or displaced them. Still, no clear evidence of conquest or large-scale destruction has been found, leaving the fate of the Vinča an open question. One prominent theory is that the Vinča civilization declined due to a shift in climate. As the environment changed, droughts, colder temperatures, or changes in river patterns may have made it difficult for them to sustain their agricultural way of life. If their crops failed and their water sources became unreliable, they would have been forced to abandon their settlements and disperse into smaller groups, eventually losing their identity as a distinct civilization. Another possibility is that they were slowly assimilated by incoming Indo-European tribes. These groups, believed to have migrated into Europe from the Eurasian steppe, brought with them new technologies, languages, and possibly a more hierarchical society. The peaceful Vinča people may not have been equipped to resist these changes, and instead integrated into these new cultures, leaving behind only traces of their once thriving society. Some researchers speculate that internal societal collapse played a role, as settlements grew larger and more complex. Managing resources and maintaining social cohesion may have become increasingly difficult. Without strong centralized leadership or structured governance, their way of life could have gradually unraveled, leading to a decline in their population and eventual abandonment of their cities. The question of who lived in these settlements is equally intriguing. The Vinča people were likely a diverse and innovative society, consisting of farmers, artisans, and traders. Their advanced pottery and metallurgy suggest a highly skilled class of craftsmen, while their large settlements imply an organized community with some form of leadership, even if it was not centralized. Women may have played significant roles in both daily life and spiritual practices, based on the prevalence of female figurines. After their decline, it is likely that their descendants merged with or influenced later European cultures. Some of their traditions, symbols, and knowledge may have been passed down through oral traditions, becoming part of the folklore and mythologies of later civilizations. The greatest enigma of all remains their script. Unlike Sumerian cuneiform or Egyptian hieroglyphs, the Vinča symbols have never been deciphered. Some believe they were simply decorative, while others argue they convey real meaning, possibly an early form of record-keeping or storytelling. If the latter is true, then it would challenge everything we know about the origins of writing. Some scholars propose that the symbols were used for religious or ceremonial purposes. They may have recorded prayers, myths, or rituals dedicated to deities or natural forces. Others believe they served as a form of economic notation, tracking trade, resources, or land ownership within the society. Still, some argue that they could be an early attempt at a phonetic script, meaning that if we could decipher them, we might uncover an ancient language lost to history. What if the Vinča were the true pioneers of written language, their words lost to time? What secrets would their script reveal if we could read it? Would we uncover a forgotten mythology, a complex history, or knowledge that has been buried for millennia? Today, the ruins of Vinča settlements remain scattered across the Balkans, their artifacts displayed in museums, their symbols still defying translation. We know they existed, we know they built, crafted, and thrived. But their true story remains untold, a silent puzzle from the distant past. waiting for someone to finally decipher it. The past is filled with lost civilizations, some swallowed by time, others erased by disaster, and many still shrouded in mystery, waiting to be uncovered. The stories we've explored today are just a glimpse into the rise and fall of ancient cultures, their forgotten knowledge, and the unanswered questions they left behind. But the more we uncover, the more mysteries emerge. If you enjoyed this journey into the forgotten past, be sure to subscribe and check out our other videos for more mysteries of the universe. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay curious.